Chapter 3601, You Really Haven't Died Yet. Divine Ability. The great Taos converged, resonating with the Tao patterns, and a stream of wondrous insights flowed into the soul. Lin Moyu sensed the great Tao divine ability. With 100 Tao patterns, one could resonate with the great Tao and obtain great Tao divine abilities. Originally thinking he could only choose one out of 6, he never expected that all 6 great Taos were possible. Lin Moyu finally understood what the heavenly Tao ability was all about. All great Taos have a source, and that source is within the origin ancestral land. No matter which world's great Tao, they are all projections of the great Tao. The various worlds use the 2 great origins of Tai Yang and Tai Yin as their foundation, connecting to the origin ancestral land to draw in the great Tao projections. After a long period of time, they gradually evolve into great Taos suitable for their own world. The whole process is extremely complex, but if simplified, the origin ancestral land can be seen as the source of everything, and the great Taos of various worlds all come from it. The great Taos of various worlds are all projected Taos, while the true great Tao bodies are in the origin ancestral land. All those who become Tao lords in various worlds can only be called projected Tao lords. After becoming a Tao lord, to advance further, one must engage in the great Tao struggle. Defeat other Tao lords, obtain their great Taos, strengthen oneself, and finally step into the great Tao body to become a true Tao lord. Great Tao realm practitioners wield the power of the great Tao, but they are only wielding the power of the projected great Tao. The great Tao divine ability, on the other hand, uses Tao patterns to resonate, using the projected great Tao as a bridge to borrow the power of the great Tao body and transform it into divine abilities. This power is only borrowed when needed and is not usually used. The more Tao patterns, the more power can be borrowed. And 100 Tao patterns is the basis for borrowing power. This is a secret belonging to those few Tao lords, which they won't tell others. So those who don't understand great Tao divine abilities can only guess. He had a full 162 Tao patterns, far exceeding the 100 mark, so naturally he could borrow more power. Besides Tao patterns, there was another limitation, which was cultivation level. To borrow more power, one's own cultivation level needed to support it. In simple terms, the soul needed to be strong enough. The two complemented each other and were indispensable. Lin Moyu was now a 7th grade innate soul. If he were to use the great Tao divine ability, Lin Moyu felt he could easily slaughter great Tao realm practitioners of the same level. He sensed 6 types of great Tao divine abilities. First was his immortality great Tao. As his innate great Tao, its status was irreplaceable. Moreover, the immortality great Tao was a great Tao that had completely entered the origin land, with its great Tao power illuminating all worlds, incredibly powerful. The great Tao was simple, and his great Tao divine ability was extremely simple, either life or death. Its great Tao divine ability could, according to Lin Moyu's will, determine life or death with a single thought. Based on Lin Moyu's understanding of the immortality great Tao, the true meaning of this great Tao was immortality and indestructibility for oneself, and control over life and death for enemies. How strong the great Tao divine ability really was, one would only know after using it, but Lin Moyu knew it wouldn't be too weak. The 1000-star great Tao's immortality divine ability was equally simple, and it was also a passive divine ability. Once activated, it didn't need to be managed and could be maintained for a long time. The function of the divine ability was to gather the power of many Star Lords to strengthen oneself. The power of the numerous Star Lords of the 1000-star Great Tao would constantly temper and strengthen oneself. This way, it was equivalent to having countless people help oneself cultivate. Even if one lay still, one's cultivation would increase. This point is quite similar to blood resonance. Lin Moyu muttered to himself. He had always envied his sister's blood resonance, and now he unexpectedly had something similar. The third divine ability came from the space great Tao, and this divine ability was called cage. It cut off a piece of space and turned it into a cage. This space would be extremely solid, unbreakable by those of the same realm. Moreover, within the cage, one would be subjected to the impact of the space great Tao. If one's strength was insufficient, one would be torn to pieces. The space great Tao, as one of the top-ranking great Taos among all great Taos, had unquestionably strong power. Now with this divine ability, it was a powerful aid for him. The fourth divine ability came from the time great Tao, and this divine ability was called roam. By activating this divine ability, Lin Moyu could enter the river of time, observe the past and see what once was. The higher the realm, the stronger the power, and the longer one could see in the river of time. If one's power was strong enough, one could even return to the past through the river of time, influence the past and thus change the present. Lin Moyu pondered slightly, observing the past and seeing what once was as quite similar to the Buddhist three lives method. In the three lives secret method, one life is the past. If one changes the past, can it really affect the present? This possibility still needed to be tried to know. The three lives secret method was very peculiar. He had studied it before but hadn't gained much. Until this moment, Lin Moyu finally understood the true purpose of the three lives secret method. The three lives secret method was not to advance cultivation, but to make one understand the past, present, and future, to view the world from three perspectives, the river of time, the present world, and the destiny great Tao, to understand all things in heaven and earth. Finally, to comprehend the cause and effect great Tao. This was Lin Moyu's understanding of the three lives secret method. The three lives secret method was actually meant to cultivate the cause and effect great Tao. The fifth great Tao divine ability was the fortune great Tao divine ability. As an illusory type of great Tao, the fortune great Tao's divine ability was equally illusory, named fortune reversal. It could transform the target's fortune, turning good fortune into misfortune, and misfortune into good fortune. Everything was determined by the user's will, and the effect could last for a long time. This divine ability didn't seem very powerful at first glance. But if used in the right place, the effect would be terrifying. The only trouble was that if the opponent's realm far exceeded one's own, the effect would be greatly reduced. The sixth great Tao divine ability was the power great Tao divine ability. The power great Tao was also a great Tao that had entered the origin land. No matter where, the power great Tao could exert its powerful effect. The divine ability was named divine strength. The great Tao returned to simplicity, and the function of this divine ability was to concentrate one's strength to a point, amplifying it 1,000-fold when struck. What was the concept of 1,000-fold? Lin Moyu's punch as a 7th grade innate soul, amplified 1,000-fold, was enough to kill a 6th grade innate soul. One divine ability directly gave him the ability to fight across realms. For others, this divine ability was extraordinary, but for Lin Moyu, this divine ability was just so-so. Because his other techniques were too strong, fighting across realms was not a difficult thing. This divine ability should be used in conjunction with the concentrate origin technique to achieve the best effect. Lin Moyu thought to himself, deciding to try it out when he had the chance in the future. The Great Tao reward was still continuing, but for Lin Moyu, he no longer needed the Great Tao reward. Cultivation advancement needed to be taken step by step, steadily. He had already advanced too fast and too far in this step, and needed time to consolidate his foundation. He couldn't continue forward. With a thought, the heavenly Tao reward was transferred. The colorful light disappeared from above Lin Moyu's head and instantly appeared above Antares' head, shining down. Antares let out a dragon's roar, transforming into the true body of a great Tao divine dragon, a 100,000-meter-long dragon body slowly rising. His appearance immediately caused exclamations of surprise. In the outer sky great Tao, a great Tao realm expert exclaimed in surprise, "A great Tao divine dragon, the dragon race actually has someone who entered the origin continent. This great Tao divine dragon is so strong, his aura makes me feel fear. Why does he look somewhat familiar? It seems like I've seen him somewhere before." A divine dragon from the dragon race looked at Antares with bright eyes, muttering softly, "You really haven't died yet. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3602, 3602. Chapter 3602, The Most Untouchable Person. The great changes in heaven and earth were still ongoing. Under the power of the great Tao, all cultivators were performing the same action, sitting cross-legged in meditation. Even those who were originally fighting stopped and went their separate ways to seize this opportunity to cultivate. Such an opportunity was rare in tens of thousands of years. How could they easily let it pass? Everyone enjoyed the benefits of the great changes in heaven and earth. Their cultivation levels were rapidly increasing, constantly breaking through. The fortune of the origin continent was continuously rising, becoming stronger and stronger. A roar of excitement came from the eastern continent. Tao achieved. The third ancestor's voice echoed throughout heaven and earth. In the outer sky great Tao, a majestic figure stepped out from the depths of the void. He trod on the great Tao and descended upon the origin continent. Countless people bowed to the third ancestor. Greetings, origin Tao Lord. The great Tao that the third ancestor trod upon was called the Balance Great Tao, an origin Great Tao. The Tao Lord of an origin Great Tao stood at the peak of the origin continent. The third ancestor had schemed and arranged for millions of years, and finally succeeded. After achieving the Tao, the third ancestor looked towards Lin Moyu. He knew clearly that his success was largely due to Lin Moyu's contributions. He had used the essence blood ball he refined to kill at least one 8-winged outer god, and then used this outer god's corpse as a weapon to blow up several more 8-winged outer gods. The deaths of these outer gods were all related to him, so he would receive a share of the heavenly Tao's rewards. The third ancestor hadn't told Lin Moyu that he had left a trace of his consciousness in the essence blood ball. After using the blood ball, he could see part of what happened afterwards. Everything Lin Moyu did was seen by him. The third ancestor spoke in a low voice. Lin Moyu is this Tao Lord's good friend. If anyone has problems with him, this Tao Lord will not be polite. After the question Heaven Tao Lord, the third ancestor also made such a declaration, once again shocking everyone in the outer sky Great Tao. Some forces might not heed the words of a branch Tao Lord, but they would definitely not take an origin Tao Lord lightly. The difference between the two was huge. One origin Tao Lord was not weaker than several branch Tao Lords. During the origin catastrophe, many branch Tao Lords perished, but only 1 or 2 origin Tao Lords died. Origin Tao Lords were the true rulers of the outer sky Great Tao. Moreover, how could an origin Tao Lord not have his own forces? Everyone was calculating in their hearts, becoming more wary of Lin Moyu. Suddenly, the boundary sea boiled, and a huge black whale burst out from it. Under the illumination of the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins, the black whale's body shimmered with a black light, looking extremely noble. The black whale raised its head and let out a long cry that reached the outer sky Great Tao. Immediately after, the outer sky Great Tao rumbled incessantly. Space rippled like waves, and the originally dry outer sky Great Tao suddenly turned into a wetland. The water Great Tao came rolling in, and 100,000-meter black whale rose and fell with the heavenly Tao's power. Its aura kept rising, with the water Great Tao circling around it. Another origin Tao Lord had arrived. Everyone bowed again. Greetings, Tao Lord. The third ancestor laughed. Old Black, you're slower than me this time. The king of the boundary sea said, if you're faster, then you're faster. What's there to compare? His gaze swept across the origin continent, and his deep, majestic voice rolled out, Lin Moyu is this Tao Lord's brother. Whoever dares to provoke him, this Tao Lord will eat them. The people in the outer sky Great Tao were already numb. This was the third Tao Lord to say such a thing. Everyone was guessing what Lin Moyu's identity was. Why was this happening? There were some rumors in the outer sky Great Tao about what the third ancestor and the king of the boundary sea had done. They were originally first grade innate soul Great Tao realm beings, already at the peak, with strength comparable to branch Tao Lords. To become origin Tao Lords, they had entered the game themselves, scheming for billions of years until today. This kind of success was natural. Besides admiration, there was nothing else to say. But Lin Moyu was a person from the origin continent. How could he be brothers with them? Some people had already begun to suspect that this Lin Moyu might be the reincarnation of some big shot. In the northern continent, another aura soared to the sky, followed by a fierce wind blowing from the origin continent straight to the outer sky Great Tao. The fierce wind arrived in the depths of the outer sky Great Tao. The king of the boundary sea chuckled. That beast emperor has also succeeded. The third ancestor said, his success is expected. Didn't you see how fiercely he competed with me in the origin continent? The king of the boundary sea said, how could I not have seen it? But if it weren't for the ice-fire Tao stones that Brother Lin gave you, it would have been very difficult for you to complete this final step. The third ancestor said, it would just be difficult, not impossible. Don't underestimate our arrangements. We're not the same as you. The king of the boundary sea chuckled. Can't help it, I'm just luckier. Indeed, they were quite different. The king of the boundary sea had forces behind him, while the third ancestor and beast emperor were fighting alone. It wasn't that they didn't have forces behind them, but that these forces were insignificant. The beast emperor rode the wind Great Tao to arrive, and everyone bowed to him again. The beast emperor's gaze swept across the universe. Everyone, Lin Moyu is my brother. His words were even simpler, only stating Lin Moyu's identity, but that was enough. Generally, no one would be foolish enough to want to provoke the brother of an Origin Tao Lord. Moreover, he had 3 Origin Tao Lords backing him up, so even fewer would dare to think about it. In many people's eyes, this guy called Lin Moyu had become the most untouchable person. Antares circled above the eastern continent, its aura repeatedly surging towards the peak, but each time it fell short by a bit. Even though Lin Moyu had given it the subsequent rewards, it still couldn't take that final step to become the Tao Lord of the Young Dragon Great Tao. Antares' accumulation and foundation were still a bit inferior compared to the third ancestor and others. Yin Shun was the same. His arrangements were somewhat insufficient. Although he had come closer to the position of Tao Lord, he hadn't succeeded. After being driven away by the Question Heaven Tao Lord, the withering and flourishing elder hadn't really left. A small avatar of his was hidden in the shadows, watching the origin continent. If anyone wanted Lin Moyu's life the most, it would undoubtedly be him. Lin Moyu's actions had disrupted his plans, especially after the third ancestor and others became Tao Lords, which deeply stimulated him. If it weren't for Lin Moyu, he should have become a Tao Lord too. Ending up in this state, with no benefits gained, was all because of Lin Moyu. I must kill you," the withering and flourishing elder said viciously in his heart. Lin Moyu was examining his soul world. This advancement had brought huge changes to his soul world. The soul world strengthened as his realm increased, which was the most basic change. The world tree within had grown a lot, but it was still in its growth period and hadn't truly matured. After Lin Moyu received all the information from the world tree, even with his Tao heart, he couldn't help but get excited. The changes in the world tree this time were extremely great, beyond imagination. The world tree had become thicker, still enveloping the entire soul world, firmly protecting it. A large amount of silver sap was secreted, with a hint of purple gold in it, meaning the silver sap had evolved again. The silver sap, after this evolution, could not only accelerate cultivation but also enhance the soul level. Although the effect was slow, if consumed daily, relying on time accumulation, the soul could also gain huge benefits. The spirit flowers were also in full bloom, now larger and stronger than before. Most importantly, the world tree had gained a completely new ability, which was what shocked Lin Moyu the most. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3603, 3603. Chapter 3603, World Spirit, Tai Yin Origin Essence. The information transmitted from the World Tree shocked Lin Moyu. World Tree Growth Stage. Ability 1, Rebirth. When receiving fatal damage, gain rebirth and instantly recover to peak condition. All techniques reset cooldown, can be triggered 10 times consecutively within 20 seconds. This ability resets cooldown 20 seconds after first trigger. Ability 2, Fruit. The World Tree will bear World Fruit. Consuming World Fruit can give birth to a Rule World. Those who already have a Rule World can strengthen it. Ability 3, Spirit Flower. Mature spirit flowers can heal any injury. If used by members of the Undead Army, it can give them spiritual intelligence. Ability 4, Leaves. World Tree leaves are excellent material for refining artifacts. Some mutated World Tree leaves may evolve spirituality, becoming spiritual materials. Ability 5, Gold and Silver Sap. Can increase Great Tao Fusion, improve cultivation aptitude, increase cultivation speed, and enhance soul level. Daily production, 10,000 drops. Ability 6, World Spirit. Using World Fruit as shell, leaves as bones, spirit flowers as flesh and blood, supplemented by Tai Yang and Tai Yin origin power, evolve World Spirits in gold and silver sap. World Spirits can transform into Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. 2 or more World Spirits fusing together can evolve into an independent world. The first 5 abilities were just further strengthened on their previous basis, not exceeding Lin Moyu's expectations. However, this 6th newly born ability shocked Lin Moyu. World Spirit, the spirit of a world, created by the World Tree. World Spirits were not artifact spirits or formation spirits, but a special independent living being. They had no consciousness, but could instinctively evolve, eventually evolving into Tai Yang or Tai Yin origin. However, Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins were the foundation of any world. 2 world spirits fusing together could obtain complete Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. Yin and Yang interacting would eventually evolve into an independent world. He never imagined the world tree would have such an ability. Evolving Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins, wasn't that the same as the origin ancestral land? What exactly is the world tree's background? Lin Moyu was completely speechless. This was just the growth stage. If it advanced further to full maturity, to what extent would the world tree develop? His heart was full of anticipation. He knew the world's growth still needed his help. Not only did he need to improve his realm, but he also needed to supply large amounts of origin spirit vein remnants. The remnants of origin spirit veins were like fertilizer for the world tree. With enough fertilizer, it could help the tree grow taller and stronger. As for where to find remnants, there weren't many in the origin continent, but there should be no shortage in the outer sky Great Tao. The Great Tao realm beings in the outer sky Great Tao couldn't imagine that before they could set their sights on Lin Moyu had already set his sights on them. After examining the world tree's changes, he began to check the changes in the skeleton hell. With realm advancement, the rule world expanded, and the soul world grew along with it. At the bottom of the rule world, the skeleton hell was shrouded in a faint light. Under the light, magma boiled and countless volcanoes erupted. After this evolution, the skeleton hell became more real, like a true hell. The skeleton hell's coverage area increased from 2,000 kilometers in radius to 10,000 kilometers. The number of hell fiends also increased from 2 million to 10 million. Lin Moyu looked down at the skeleton hell. His will swept over it, and countless hell fiends knelt to welcome his will. The skeleton hell has become more real, but it seems to be missing something. The faint light comes from the outer gods, functioning similar to protective divine light, while also enhancing the hell fiends' attacks. The hell fiends have already stepped into the Great Tao realm. They don't have souls, so they can't be distinguished by soul level. But judging by their combat power, they should be no weaker than 9th grade soul Great Tao realm. Considering their numbers, they're enough to trap and kill up to 8th grade soul Great Tao realm beings. As for Heiyu, with a thought from Lin Moyu, Heiyu burst out roaring. Heiyu had become stronger, surpassing the hell fiends by a level, reaching at least the 8th grade soul level. However, a peculiar aura appeared on Heiyu. This aura should have always existed, but he had never noticed it before. Only after advancing to the Great Tao realm did he discover the existence of this aura. Upon careful sensing, Lin Moyu determined that this aura within Heiyu came from the Tai Yin origin of the origin continent. As he pondered, he muttered to himself, Heiyu's predecessor was the Netherworld Black Dragon, whose predecessor was the Tai Yin Ancestor Dragon, which came from the Tai Yin origin. The Lord of Hell wanted to become the Lord of the origin continent and refined the Tai Yin Ancestor Dragon. His goal was the Tai Yin origin. Later, the Ancestor Dragon escaped to the wasteland, ending the Lord of Hell's ambition. But the Netherworld Black Dragon couldn't return, so the Tai Yin origin remained within it. Now that Heiyu has become the Netherworld Black Hell, the Tai Yin origin is within Heiyu's body. Heiyu's Tai Yin origin comes from the origin continent. While it benefits me, it's also a constraint. With the origin continent's Tai Yin origin, Heiyu would be more powerful, but at the same time, the origin continent's upper limit would restrict its growth. If there was no Tai Yin origin, Heiyu's power would weaken, but its upper limit would only be constrained by Lin Moyu himself. After a brief thought, Lin Moyu made a decision. With a thought, Heiyu's body exploded. Strands of origin power flew out from the shattered flesh, gathering together to form a ball of light. The light ball was extremely cold, not ice but far colder than ice. This was the Tai Yin origin essence from the origin continent. Heiyu was reborn under Lin Moyu's will. After losing the Tai Yin origin, Heiyu's aura clearly dropped significantly, but Lin Moyu knew that without the constraint of the Tai Yin origin, Heiyu would grow even stronger in the future. Of course, the premise was that Lin Moyu himself could go far enough. For the separated Tai Yin origin essence, Lin Moyu had already decided where to put it. He could give it to Antares, who would surely be delighted. Fusing both Tai Yang and Tai Yin origin powers, could Antares become the legendary Yin-Yang Divine Dragon? Lin Moyu chuckled softly, putting away the Tai Yin origin essence. His gaze fell on the Gate of Hell. Affected by the Great Tao reward and the great changes in heaven and earth, the Gate of Hell had recovered somewhat but not completely. Now that Lin Moyu had advanced to the Great Tao realm, many things he didn't understand before were now clear. What truly composed the Gate of Hell was the Hell Great Tao. The reason he couldn't find fragments of the Gate of Hell was that the fragments simply didn't exist. When the Gate of Hell shattered back then, it had already returned to the Hell Great Tao. So if he wanted to repair the gate of hell, he would have to go to the Hell Great Tao and borrow the power of the Hell Heavenly Tao. But Lin Moyu didn't want to do this. If he used the Hell Great Tao to cultivate the gate of hell, then the skeleton hell would once again be influenced by the origin continent. I want to evolve my own Great Tao, truly allowing the skeleton hell to be reborn anew. I am not the Lord of Hell, and my goal is not just the origin continent. To surpass, I must break away from the root. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3604, 3604. Chapter 3604, Restrictions from the Great Tao. The upgrade path of the skeleton hell has been repetitive, first constantly expanding its range and increasing the number of hell fiends, taking the route of overwhelming with numbers. Later, after a qualitative change, quantity was converted to quality. The range became smaller, but the individual combat power of hell fiends became stronger. Only then did the skeleton hell begin to show its true power. However, no matter when, the skeleton hell has never been able to escape the shadow of the once real hell. Most people would think that Lin Moyu is the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell. Only Lin Moyu knows that he is definitely not the reincarnation of the Lord of Hell. Perhaps there's some connection, or perhaps no connection at all. He knows what to do next. He wants to completely separate the skeleton hell from the real hell of the former Lord of Hell, turning it into a technique world that belongs only to himself. The yin and yang origins shine down, their power washing away every trace of the former hell's power, allowing the skeleton hell to be reborn anew. This is a long process, but Lin Moyu is not in a hurry. He'll just wait patiently. When he can evolve his own Hell Great Tao, the skeleton hell will completely become his own technique, no longer having any connection with the Great Tao of the origin continent. Next, Lin Moyu examines his other techniques. The two great origin techniques have not changed at all. Origin techniques never change due to his realm advancement. Infinite fusion is the same. This one is even more extreme than origin techniques. No matter how Lin Moyu's realm changes, it remains unmoved. Only when techniques need to be fused and are worth fusing does it take action. Now Lin Moyu no longer specifically looks for spiritual materials. Over the years, infinite fusion has eaten plenty of spiritual materials. Those spiritual materials are world tree leaves. Occasionally, world tree leaves give birth to a few spiritual materials, which are eaten by this guy as soon as they appear. Lin Moyu is too lazy to manage it. If it wants to eat, let it eat. However, the spiritual materials from the world tree are generally of average grade. If there's a chance, he'll still look for some to give it. The 5 summoning techniques have all been strengthened. The combat power of skeleton god generals and dragon cavalry is consistent with his own realm, reaching the level of 7th grade innate soul. The legion commanders are slightly higher, but haven't reached the intermediate stage. Only the skeleton kings have barely reached the intermediate level of 7th grade innate soul. In Lin Moyu's view, having summoned beings equal to his own realm is not a good thing. Although they are strong enough, they're not strong enough. Lin Moyu can clearly feel the restrictions from the Great Tao of the origin continent. The Great Tao of the origin continent seems unwilling to allow such balance-breaking things to exist. When he was weak before, the Heavenly Tao could ignore him. But when he became powerful enough, the Great Tao had to intervene, because his existence was too disruptive to the balance. Now summoning continues, and the undead army keeps growing. Lin Moyu is not yet clear on what the specific upper limit is. There are ways to break through the limitations of summoning type techniques. Lin Moyu immediately thinks of methods to break through the limitations. Like the skeleton hell, it also requires his own Great Tao. He already has the yin and yang origins, possessing the foundation to evolve Great Taos. If he can evolve his own Great Tao, then he can break through the limitations of the origin continent. As for now, the simplest method is to use Tao patterns to enhance techniques. Bang 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 bang. 6 light sounds in succession, and in the soul world, the true bodies of the 6 great Taos shatter simultaneously. He has already stepped into the Great Tao realm and can wield Great Tao power, so he no longer needs Great Tao true bodies. Every move in the Great Tao realm is like the Great Tao itself descending. There's no need to rely on things like Great Tao true bodies. As the Great Tao true bodies shatter, 24 Tao patterns automatically return. This way, the number of available Tao patterns increases to 62. Bang, another light sound, and the fortune talisman also shatters along with the great Tao true bodies. The 4 Tao patterns within automatically return, increasing the number of free Tao patterns to 66. Those in the Great Tao realm can use the Fortune Great Tao to predict the future at any time, so there's no need for fortune talismans. The fortune formation is no longer necessary. Among the current techniques, the 5 summoning techniques each fuse with 12 Tao patterns, the skeleton hell fuses with 32 Tao patterns, and corpse explosion fuses with 4 Tao patterns, using a total of 96. With a thought from Lin Moyu, 60 Tao patterns fly out, with each summoning technique being allocated 12 Tao patterns. This way, the number of Tao patterns for each summoning technique will double to 24. With the increase in Tao patterns, the strength of the techniques immediately surges. The power of skeleton god generals and dragon cavalry rises to the peak of the advanced stage of 7th grade innate soul. The power of legion commanders rises to the initial stage of 6th grade innate soul, while skeleton kings reach the intermediate stage of 6th grade innate soul. Looking at this result, Lin Moyu says softly, "Let's leave it like this for now. When I have my own great Tao in the future, we'll make changes then." There's not much change in summoning elemental liches. They need suitable materials to become powerful liches. The current liches are already strong enough. Lin Moyu hopes to obtain some suitable materials to upgrade their level. As for resurrection of the dead, this technique that relies on corpses hasn't changed much. The existence time has increased from 6,000 days to 10,000 days, and the maximum capacity has increased from 3 billion to 10 billion. But it's impossible to summon 10 billion, and due to the hibernation mechanism, there's not much practical difference between 6,000 days and 10,000 days. At least there's some improvement, better than nothing. With a thought from Lin Moyu, the last 6 Tao patterns all fly into corpse explosion. The corpse explosion technique star emits a faint light, becoming stronger. Corpse explosion origin level detonate corpses or remains, causing damage equivalent to 300% of the target's life force when alive. Can attack multiple targets simultaneously. The more targets, the more the damage is weakened and shared. The attack ignores all obstacles and time limits. Can control the detonation time, with a maximum time not exceeding 100 years. The power of corpse explosion has increased from 200% to 300%. With this change, a corpse of the same realm can completely blow up 7 or 8 enemies of the same realm. This is the first choice technique for killing enemies in large-scale battles, bar none. This technique played a crucial role in clearing out the outer gods this time. Finally, there's the Time Curse Wings, a technique said to be able to destroy Great Taos. Time Curse Wings origin level perfect fusion of the Time Great Tao and Curse Great Tao. When the wings of time unfold, they can distort time, reaching infinite speed. At its strongest state, it can enter the river of time to roam through time. It seems to have no changes, but Lin Moyu knows that its speed should have become faster and its curse power stronger. As for distorting time, it depends on how much can be distorted. Even distorting 0.01 seconds of time is still distortion, which is better than nothing, although he hasn't used it yet. What Lin Moyu looks forward to is roaming through time. He doesn't know how this roaming works. This will have to wait until it enters its strongest state, which hasn't happened so far. This technique currently seems a bit useless. Lin Moyu looks forward to the future. He believes this technique is very powerful. A technique that can't even fuse with Tao patterns can't be weak. The passive techniques haven't changed much. The cooldown time of undead has been reduced to 60 seconds, and the number of resurrections has increased to 8 times, which is a small improvement. As for damage transfer and immunity, these 2 passive techniques haven't changed much. They've almost become useless when facing enemies that are too strong. Lin Moyu looks at infinite fusion, see if these 2 can be fused. If they can be fused, then fuse them. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3605, 3605. Chapter 3605, Scheming. Lin Moyu casually made an unreasonable request. He didn't actually care whether the fusion could happen or not. If it didn't work, that was fine too. Infinite Fusion flew down and circled around the 2 technique stars a few times, then flew back without looking back. At the same time, a thought was transmitted: fusion is possible, but not now. It's not possible now because Infinite Fusion itself is not strong enough yet. Lin Moyu smiled and said, In that case, when fusion becomes possible, go ahead and fuse them. Infinite Fusion's light flickered a few times, telling Lin Moyu there was no problem. It was still as Sunere as ever, with its own ideas. Lin Moyu didn't mind, as long as it could get things done, nothing else mattered. The Great Tao reward had ended, but Great Tao power continued to pour down. The Great Tao power that had accumulated for countless years couldn't be exhausted in just a day or two. As the Great Tao power fell, the barrier between the origin continent and the outer sky Great Tao was gradually disappearing. Lin Moyu looked at the sky. His gaze penetrated the horizon to see several Great Tao realm beings standing at the edge of the sky. Many forces were eager to enter, but it wasn't so easy to actually come in. The origin continent had been sealed off for so many years that even though the restrictions were lessening, they couldn't disappear completely all at once. To return to the previous state of free coming and going would take at least 1,000 years or even longer. During this period, only some 9th grade innate soul Great Tao realm beings could come down. Even 8th grade innate souls might not be able to descend. At this time, a surge of intent rippled through heaven and earth, lingering over this newly born continent. Lin Moyu quickly sensed it and understood the information within. This was the will of the Great Tao. He had a sudden inspiration and his clear voice echoed through heaven and earth. This continent shall be named the Central Continent. It is the center of the origin continent, the most prosperous land, and a sacred place for cultivation. His voice, accompanied by the will of heaven and earth, spread across the eastern, southern, western, and northern continents, and also reached the outer sky Great Tao. The Great Tao realm experts who heard this voice all changed expression. He has actually received the mandate of heaven. By naming the Central Continent, this kid has become half the master of the continent. This is troublesome. The kid has 4 Tao lords backing him and can't be touched. If he becomes half the master of the Central Continent, our forces will probably have to go through him to establish legacies there in the future. A newly advanced Great Tao realm cultivator, even with 4 Tao lords behind him, isn't necessarily safe. There's more than one Tao lord, and the forces of those old Tao lords aren't easy to deal with. That's right, if he really dies, those Tao lords may not even be able to find the killer. At this time, the Great Tao power still existed. These Great Tao realm beings in the outer sky Great Tao could see Lin Moyu advance to the Great Tao realm, but didn't know he had stepped directly into the 7th grade. Lin Moyu received the final reward from the will of the Great Tao of the origin continent, which used the mandate of heaven to make him half the master of the Central Continent. With the mandate of heaven, he could control some of the origin spirit veins in the Central Continent and come and go instantly at will. This land was the newly born land of the origin continent. It was still under protection and needed time to fully recover. During this period, the origin spirit veins were not allowed to be refined. The various forces from the outer sky Great Tao could establish legacies in the Central Continent. Originally they could have divided up the Central Continent, but now they had to obtain Lin Moyu's consent. Otherwise, Lin Moyu could control the origin spirit veins and turn treasure lands into wastelands. Lin Moyu thought to himself, this reward gives me a certain say, but at the same time puts me in danger again. It seems the Great Tao rewards aren't so easy to take, and being the guide isn't so easy either. Becoming the guide and receiving so many benefits meant he now had to serve the mandate of heaven and guard the Central Continent. As for how to guard it, that was up to him. Lin Moyu looked at the sky and slowly spoke, his voice spreading like an imperial edict. I have received the mandate of heaven to watch over the Central Continent. Before the Central Continent recovers, no fighting is allowed within the origin continent. Friends from the outer sky Great Tao, if you wish to fight, please leave the origin continent and go to the outer sky Great Tao. If anyone violates this, I will pursue and kill them with all my strength to fulfill the mandate of heaven. These words seemed to be spoken on behalf of heaven, but actually contained Lin Moyu's personal will. He was using the authority of the mandate of heaven to add a shackle for all the Great Tao realm beings who entered. Arrogant, someone shouted angrily. In the outer sky Great Tao, one Great Tao realm expert after another stepped out. They looked at Lin Moyu with unfriendly gazes. Although several Tao lords had spoken first, which Great Tao realm expert wasn't bold and determined in their Tao heart? Once they set their mind on killing, unless the Tao lords personally intervened to stop them, they would certainly follow their hearts. Someone looked disdainful. A mere newly advanced Great Tao realm cultivator, lucky enough to receive the mandate of heaven, dares to be so bold as to set rules for us. Do you really think that having Tao lords protect you means you can do whatever you want? The Tao Lords have to compete for the great Tao and roam the void. How can they keep an eye on you all the time? If you die, the Tao Lords may not even be able to find the killer. Many people disregarded Lin Moyu's words. Lin Moyu ignored these people's words. After all, it was the mandate of heaven that told him to say this. If they came to kill him because of it, they would be going against the great Tao. If he killed them in retaliation, he might even receive rewards from the great Tao. Lin Moyu was scheming against them. Since he was going to offend them anyway, he might as well make use of it. Deep in the void, the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor were drinking tea. The third ancestor looked at this scene with a smile. This kid really isn't peaceful. The Beast Emperor said, he's like you, a fox used to scheming. The third ancestor had achieved the great Tao and was in a good mood, so he didn't argue with the Beast Emperor. What about you? Are you going back to the origin continent? The Beast Emperor said, leaving an avatar will do. I'll build a Beast Emperor palace in the central continent and leave a legacy. The third ancestor was slightly startled. You're leaving? The Beast Emperor said, in a few more years, after I adjust. I've delayed for so long, these few days won't make a difference. The third ancestor said, it's not safe there. Even if you've become a Tao Lord, you may not be able to return safely. The Beast Emperor spat, can't you wish me well? The third ancestor laughed, honest advice is unpleasant to hear. The Beast Emperor changed the subject, what about you? What do you plan to do? The third ancestor said, like you, I'll leave an avatar. I'll hand over the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce to Feng Yao to manage, with Lu Lian and me assisting from behind. With so many years of accumulation, there shouldn't be any problems. The Beast Emperor said, I've always been curious, what's your relationship with this girl called Lu Feng Yao? The third ancestor said, what relationship could there be? She's probably my great-great-great-granddaughter. The Beast Emperor snorted, you have plenty of great-grandchildren and grandchildren. What's special about her? The third ancestor said, my bloodline has awakened in Feng Yao. Ah, the Beast Emperor was clearly shocked. I didn't notice. The third ancestor said, I suppressed it. It will only show after she reaches the Great Tao realm. The Beast Emperor suddenly understood. It seems you plan to cultivate her as your successor. The third ancestor made a sound of agreement, we've gone off topic. Let's talk about the Lin kid. This kid is likely to be in danger. His words have offended too many people. The Beast Emperor said, don't worry. From what I know of him, those who want to kill him will end up being killed by him. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3606, 3606. Chapter 3606, I'll be the bad guy. The undead army summoning was finally complete. The number of skeleton god generals reached 300 billion, 200 billion more than before. The number of dragon cavalry was equal to the skeleton god generals, also 300 billion. The legion commanders increased from 10,000 to 30,000. Each legion commander could still lead 10 million troops. 30,000 legion commanders could perfectly lead 300 billion dragon cavalry. Leading didn't mean commanding. For pure battlefield command, one legion commander could direct even 100 billion troops without issue. Leading meant they could bring the dragon cavalry legions into their own rule worlds. Seemingly one person, but actually bringing an entire army. A dragon's roar sounded as Antares transformed into a stream of light, flying in from afar. Upon entering the central continent, Antares' speed suddenly decreased. The great Tao power enveloped the central continent, with layers of restrictions. Even Antares was affected. It wasn't that these restrictions couldn't be broken through, but forcefully breaking through would be going against the great Tao, with no good consequences. Moreover, the central continent was vast. After entering, Antares had already flown for a whole day and barely reached the center. Lin Moyu chuckled. Why did you come? Antares said, to see how you're doing. Lin Moyu spread his hands, see for yourself. At this time, the great Tao power affected Antares' vision. Lin Moyu's brow glowed faintly as he opened a soul channel. There were countless eyes watching from above, so some things were better said in the soul world. Antares didn't hesitate at all, his soul directly entering Lin Moyu's soul world. He had originally planned to send just a sliver of his soul in, but this time Lin Moyu let him enter with his main body. The great Tao realm experts in the sky were all shocked. He actually entered the soul world, are they that close? This is complete trust. This great Tao divine dragon must be a close friend. Indeed, who else but a close friend would open their soul world to another? Even Tao companions might not be able to do this. Many looked on with envy. Who wouldn't want such a close friend? But how many could obtain one? In the soul world, Antares saw Lin Moyu's realm clearly and his dragon body trembled. 7th grade innate soul, you've made a tremendous leap. Lin Moyu chuckled. I was already 8th grade innate soul, just short of entering the great Tao realm. This time as the guide, I advanced another step, so don't be surprised. Antares cried out. You say it so lightly. Do you know how difficult it is to advance each step in the great Tao realm? It took me 20,000 years to go from 9th grade to 8th grade innate soul, then 60,000 years to reach 7th grade. The suffering I endured, the countless times I nearly died, you have no idea. He complained endlessly to Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu said, all right, stop complaining. I didn't let you in just to chat. Here, take this. He tossed over a piece of Tai Yin origin essence, which landed by Antares' mouth. Antares looked strange. Is this Tai Yin origin essence? Lin Moyu said. To be precise, it's Tai Yin origin essence from the Tai Yin ancestor dragon. Antares frowned. You want me to absorb it? Lin Moyu nodded. I didn't understand before, but after entering the great Tao realm, I figured it out. Yin and Yang are originally one. Just like the Yin-Yang origin here, your ancestor dragons were born from the Tai Yang origin. You have Tai Yang origin in your body, and this is the Tai Yin ancestor dragon's origin. You come from the same root, so you should be able to absorb it. If successful, you might become the first Yin-Yang divine dragon on the origin continent. Back then, the Lord of Hell wanted to refine the Tai Yang and Tai Yin ancestor dragons into a Yin-Yang divine dragon, and use them to control the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins, becoming the Lord of the origin continent. Antares spoke in a low voice. You don't want to become the Lord of the origin continent? Lin Moyu shook his head. No, I have my own path. In the soul world, the Yin-Yang origin illuminated everything, its intense power filling every corner. Antares could clearly sense that Lin Moyu's Yin-Yang origin was distinctly different from the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins of the origin continent. Antares suddenly realized what Lin Moyu wanted to do. You plan to use your own Yin-Yang origin to replace the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. You plan to transcend the origin continent? Lin Moyu nodded. That's right, it's my ultimate goal, though it won't be easy to achieve. He suddenly chuckled. But you know, people should have some small goals. The more difficult something is, the more challenging it is. Some want me to become a Tao Lord, but I refuse. What's so great about being a Tao Lord? I want to become the Lord of a world, and the Lord of my own world at that. Then, all great Taos will heed my command. That's a true Tao Lord, not just the Lord of some particular great Tao. Antares was completely speechless. Lin Moyu's goal was something he didn't even dare to imagine. Becoming a Tao Lord was already the ultimate goal in his view. But Lin Moyu said he disdained becoming a Tao Lord. He wanted to become the master of his own world, the Lord of all great Taos. The origin continent was just a stepping stone for him. Lin Moyu willed the 11-colored dragon soul crystal to fly over. Lin Moyu said, you'll probably need this. It should be able to fuse with the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. Antares nodded. According to our dragon race's legends, the limit of dragon soul crystals is 12 colors. Once it reaches 12 colors, the dragon soul crystal will take form and devour all dragons. So in the dragon race, it's strictly forbidden for dragon soul crystals above 9 colors to appear. But what they don't know is that dragon soul crystals above 9 colors are actually our dragon race's most important treasures. With them, we can not only fuse powers but also fuse with the dragon god tree. In our dragon race, besides the ancestor dragon himself, the dragon god tree contains the strongest and most abundant Tai Yang origin. But we can't absorb the Tai Yang origin in the dragon god tree. We can only obtain a part of it through specific rituals. However, with this 11-colored dragon soul crystal, I could absorb the entire dragon god tree. Then fusing with the Tai Yin ancestor dragon's origin, I might really have a chance to become a Yin-Yang divine dragon, surpassing the ancestor dragon in one go. The light in Antares' eyes grew brighter and brighter, his ambition swelling. Lin Moyu said, I said I'd accompany you to attack the dragon race, but before that, you need to be prepared. After all, they're your kin. No matter what you say normally, when it comes time to actually strike, will you be able to do it? Antares stared at Lin Moyu intently, silent for a long time. It's one thing to talk about killing, but actually doing it is another matter entirely. Whether he could bring himself to harm his own kind was hard to say. Lin Moyu said, "By now, someone has probably recognized you and knows about our relationship. Your dragon race probably won't let us off. If they provoke me, I won't be polite either. When the time comes, even if you can't bring yourself to act, don't stop me. As your brother, I'm willing to take the blame for you. I'll be the bad guy, that's not a problem. But if you can't firm your Tao heart, it'll be very difficult to achieve the great Tao. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3607, 3607. Chapter 3607, Just Can't Let Me Be Idle. Antares stared at Lin Moyu for a long time before finally uttering a few words, "You've changed." Lin Moyu chuckled. "People always change. When I stand at a different height and see different things, if I remained unchanged, I'd be a fool. But not everything changes. Some things remain constant, like our friendship." Antares nodded. "I once thought my heart was firm enough, but now I see it's not. I know what I lack. Back then, if I could have resisted." At this point, Antares shook his big head. "Let's not talk about the past. It's gone." But Lin Moyu smiled. "Why not talk about it? We should not only talk about it, but talk about it often. For example, that guy who took you away, when we get the chance, I'll help you beat him up." Seeing Lin Moyu's smile, Antares felt a chill down his spine. "Do you know what kind of being that is?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "I don't. Why don't you tell me?" Antares chuckled. "You're trying to get information out of me again." Lin Moyu sighed helplessly. "What can I do? You've lived so long, you know so much." Antares said, "Know much my ass. I actually don't know what kind of being that guy is either. Just that he's terrifying. When those origin great Tao lords came, the ancestor dragon sat. When that guy came, the ancestor dragon knelt." It seemed Antares really didn't know much. He only knew the green-robed old man was terrifying, but not much else. Lin Moyu didn't ask further. The answer to this question might only be found by himself. But the green-robed old man wasn't an unreachable existence. After all, many people knew of him, which meant he often came out to wander around. The most frightening thing would be complete unknowns, like the one who killed the Lord of Hell. Someone like the green-robed old man was actually a bit better in comparison. Lin Moyu tossed the dragon soul crystal and Tai Yin origin essence to Antares. Antares chuckled as he left Lin Moyu's soul world. Antares said, "I'll go now. Call me when you're ready, and we'll go together." Lin Moyu nodded. "You should prepare to stabilize your realm first." This time, though he didn't become a Tao Lord as hoped, Antares' realm still advanced a step, truly becoming a first-grade innate soul and reaching the intermediate stage in one go. This level of strength was already top-tier among the many great Tao realm beings. Even facing branch Tao lords like the Question Heaven Tao Lord, he wouldn't be far behind. In a real fight, with the advantages of the dragon race, even if he couldn't win, fighting to a draw wouldn't be a problem. Most importantly, Lin Moyu had found a stronger and broader path for him. Antares was overjoyed. He would stabilize his newly improved realm, wait for Lin Moyu to finish his business, then go together to attack the Yang Dragon Great Tao where the dragon race resided. At the same time, he needed to firm his Tao heart. When it came time to kill, he couldn't be soft-handed. He couldn't let Lin Moyu do all the killing while he reaped the benefits. That would be too shameful for a dragon. After Antares left, Lin Moyu remained seated without moving. In the final moments of the great changes in heaven and earth, he was still comprehending the changes in the great Tao. At this time, the great Tao of heaven and earth was undergoing dramatic changes. The recovery of heaven and earth was actually a process of rebuilding. Comprehending this process was very important for him. He could use it as a reference to evolve his own great Tao in his own world. Lin Moyu always liked to plan 3 steps ahead. The further ahead he planned, the smoother his future path would be, and the less likely he was to make mistakes. While comprehending, Lin Moyu continued to use his ability to multitask. He split off a thread of soul intent to communicate with the world tree, beginning to try out the new ability. A fully ripened world fruit naturally detached itself and automatically flew into the lake formed by gold and silver tree sap. Now, Besides pure silver, the lake also contained traces of gold, though the gold was still very scarce, being a newly emerged element. The world fruit rolled in the gold and silver tree sap, taking on a silver glow with golden lines, becoming more noble. Then, spirit flowers flew down, 10 in total, blooming in sequence, layer upon layer wrapping around the world fruit, forming a large ball. The ball continued to roll in the gold and silver tree sap, covering itself completely with the silver glow and golden lines. Then a tree branch drooped down, lifting up the ball. Numerous world tree leaves flew over, wrapping around the ball layer by layer until it reached a diameter of 10 meters before stopping. The world tree held up the ball, bringing it before the yin-yang origin to bask in its illumination. Under the effect of the yin-yang origin power, the leaves on the ball began to fuse together, the gaps gradually disappearing, becoming smoother and smoother. With a thought, Lin Moyu split off a thread of soul will, letting it fall into the smooth ball. The final form of the world spirit would be entirely determined by Lin Moyu. His soul will would also be the world spirit's will. This world spirit belonged to Lin Moyu. If the world spirit evolved into a world, that evolved world would also belong to Lin Moyu. Under Lin Moyu's will, the ball's shape underwent some changes. It was soft as water, first becoming oval, then growing a head, then limbs. Lin Moyu was human, so naturally the evolved world spirit was also humanoid. Soon, the embryonic form of the world spirit was complete, but it still needed some time to fully form. Under the illumination of the yin-yang origin, it was like an inheritor, gradually gaining abilities identical to the yin-yang origin. With one world spirit basically formed, the rest was just a matter of time nurturing it. Lin Moyu didn't stop, but began cultivating a second world spirit. The cultivation process for world spirits was all the same, basically just repetition. For Lin Moyu, it could be completed without much mental effort. Before, I had to condense Tao patterns, always maintaining a state of multitasking. I thought after entering the great Tao realm I wouldn't need to work so hard anymore. Who would have thought the world tree would come up with something like world spirits? Seems like it just can't let me be idle. Among the myriad worlds, the origin continent was just the king of worlds. Moreover, no world could fully evolve all great Taos, not even the origin continent. Now Lin Moyu's ambition was extremely great. He wanted to transcend the origin continent and become the lord of all great Taos. So he couldn't have just one world. He also needed vast numbers of worlds and vast numbers of world spirits. World spirits were nurtured one after another, and the later appearing world spirits began to take on all sorts of strange forms. There were flowers, grasses, birds, beasts, insects, fish, snakes, pythons. One by one, world spirits condensed their embryonic forms, then enjoyed the illumination of the yin-yang origin. Years passed. Lin Moyu's understanding of the evolution of the great Tao of heaven and earth became clearer. Insights constantly arose in his mind, and he knew what he should do next. Finally, in the 10th year since the start of the great changes in heaven and earth, the last layer of separation between the origin continent and the outer sky great Tao disappeared. From this second on, great Tao realm experts from the outer sky great Tao could freely enter the origin continent. Of course, for now only 9th grade innate soul great Tao realm beings could enter. Stronger ones would still need to wait. Similarly, cultivators from the origin continent could also find ways to go to the outer sky great Tao. A clear sound echoed across the sky as a giant sea turtle burst out of the boundary sea, heading towards the outer sky great Tao. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3608. 3608. Chapter 3608. Don't try to control too much. Lin Moyu watched the sea turtle soaring into the sky and muttered softly, "Senior Waterstop, good luck." The one flying up was Waterstop Tianzun, though he could no longer be called Tianzun now, he should be called Waterstop Tao Venerable. During the great changes in heaven and earth, Waterstop Tianzun had broken through continuously. In just 10 years, he had advanced at an astonishing speed to the 9th level of Tao Venerable realm. Lin Moyu had long sensed that Waterstop Tianzun's power was far beyond the Tianzun realm, but he had been suppressing his power, maintaining it at the Tianzun level. Now, taking advantage of the great changes in heaven and earth and the descent of great Tao power, he released his suppression and officially entered the Tao Venerable realm, advancing directly at a speed of 1 level per year to reach the 9th level of Tao Venerable realm. The 9th level of Dao Venerable realm was not his limit. He could certainly break through further, but Waterstop Dao Venerable had chosen to make his breakthrough in the outer sky Great Dao. On his turtle shell, a formation was operating. In the center of the formation sat a black-robed figure. The black-robed figure and Waterstop Dao Venerable were one, indistinguishable. Lin Moyu recognized at a glance that the formation on Waterstop Dao Venerable's shell should be a natural formation, also known as a heavenly formation. Waterstop Dao Venerable's previous incarnation was born with a heavenly formation. A heavenly formation was a natural formation, and an extremely powerful one at that. This kind of formation was immensely powerful, with astonishing effects, and extremely mysterious. Except for Waterstop Dao Venerable himself, no one knew the function of this heavenly formation. It was with this heavenly formation that Waterstop Dao Venerable had lived 3 lifetimes. Most crucially, the person sitting in the heavenly formation was a dead man. Though dead, he still possessed an astonishing aura. "It's the world-sealing Dao Lord," Lin Moyu whispered in his heart. Waterstop Dao Venerable was carrying the corpse of his previous life, charging straight for the outer sky Great Dao. Lin Moyu immediately understood what he was going to do. He was going to the Great Dao Formation sect to break through to the Great Dao realm and at the same time avenge his previous life. The current state of the Great Dao Formation sect was unknown, but during the great changes in heaven and earth, the Formation sect must have suffered greatly. Waterstop Dao Venerable's schemes against the Great Dao Formation sect were far from over. At this time in the outer sky Great Dao, many people were already lining up to enter the origin continent. Unexpectedly, before they could enter, Waterstop Dao Venerable had rushed up first. The group of Great Dao realm experts immediately felt dissatisfied. One of them shouted, "Mere Dao Venerable, quickly retreat." Waterstop Dao Venerable ignored him, charging into the passage and crashing straight through. That Great Dao realm expert found that Waterstop Tianzun had ignored him, feeling he had completely lost face. "So disobedient, I'll teach you a lesson." He struck out a palm towards Waterstop Dao Venerable. Though without killing intent, the power of a Great Dao realm expert was enough to severely injure Waterstop Dao Venerable. "Get out of the way!" Waterstop Dao Venerable roared. The black-robed figure on his back suddenly raised his head. The black-robed figure pointed a finger, and a divine rune flew out. The rune instantly exploded, transforming into a fist that flew out. Boom! As fist met palm, the Great Dao realm expert's palm was instantly shattered. The Great Dao realm expert cried out in pain, his body exploding, flying back like a lump of meat, nearly shattering to pieces. Fortunately, he was a Great Dao realm expert with a powerful soul. Though severely injured, he wasn't about to die. With the help of Great Dao power, his physical body was rapidly recovering. The fist cleared the way, and Waterstop Dao Venerable followed closely behind, bursting out of the origin Great Dao and entering the outer sky Great Dao. All the Great Dao realm experts in the way, as long as they were grazed by the fist, had their bodies explode instantly, suffering severe injuries. This fist forcefully broke through the line of Great Dao realm experts, opening up a passage. Waterstop Dao Venerable followed closely behind. After entering the void, the formation on his back activated, and the Dao Venerable instantly vanished. Lin Moyu had long anticipated this scene. Though the world-sealing Dao Lord was dead, Waterstop Dao Venerable could use his secret technique to manipulate the world-sealing Dao Lord's corpse. With the world-sealing Dao Lord's former first great innate soul realm, even a trace of his power was not something these Great Dao realm experts could block. Lin Moyu chuckled softly and muttered to himself, "Senior Waterstop, when we meet again, you'll likely be a Dao Lord." After Waterstop Dao Venerable left, the outer sky Great Dao finally regained some calm. But the discussions continued incessantly. Who was that? How could there be such a terrifying Dao Venerable in the origin continent? He wasn't just a Dao Venerable. When he made his move, I clearly sensed the power of a Great Dao realm expert, at least a third great innate soul. Wasn't the origin continent sealed off for many years, unable to produce even Great Dao realm experts? How could there be such a figure? The origin continent is full of secrets, many of which we can't know. Let's just follow orders and establish legacies in the origin continent. Yes, keep a low profile, don't be too flamboyant, and don't provoke that Lin Moyu fellow. The passage had opened, and these Great Dao realm experts began to enter the origin continent. They were all 9th grade innate souls, at the bottom of the Great Dao realm, but sufficient for establishing legacies. Before entering, the various forces of the outer sky Great Dao had already agreed on the division of territory. The stronger forces naturally occupied better territories, while the weaker forces got inferior ones. These great Tao realm experts passed through the passage one by one, immediately sensing an atmosphere completely different from the outer sky great Tao. In the origin continent, myriad great Taos intertwined, and all kinds of heavenly Tao power could be felt here. Although the great Tao power wasn't as pure as in the outer sky great Tao, the key was that it was comprehensive, with everything available. In such an environment, people born in the origin continent could cultivate suitable great Taos according to their own physiques. Unlike in the outer sky great Tao, where if one's physique wasn't suitable and there were no elders to guide them in finding a suitable great Tao, their whole life would be wasted. In other words, in the origin continent, everyone had a chance. Over 109th grade innate soul great Tao realm experts entered the origin continent. Before they could disperse, Lin Moyu's warning thundered in their ears. You may establish legacies in the central continent or spread your teachings in other continents, but you must not use forceful or underhanded methods, nor can you pressure the various forces in the origin continent. If anyone violates this, I, Lin, will not be polite. Remember this well, and don't say you weren't warned. Lin Moyu's warning made everyone change color. Naturally, they wanted to establish legacies in the central continent, but if they only spread their teachings, the speed of developing their legacy forces would be quite slow. Their initial plan was to establish legacies, occupy territory, and then go to various continents to bring back a batch of people as their first disciples. As for how to bring them back, it didn't matter much. Using some methods wasn't out of the question. But with Lin Moyu saying this, he was clearly not allowing them to use such methods. This made things much more difficult and time-consuming. They all came with missions. If they couldn't complete their missions, the forces and sects behind them would surely punish them. Although they didn't want to provoke Lin Moyu, there were always some bold ones. Someone immediately expressed dissatisfaction. Lin, even though you have Tao Lords backing you, don't try to control too much. We also have Tao Lords behind us. We're not necessarily afraid of you. Lin Moyu looked at this person. The two gazed at each other from hundreds of millions of meters apart. Gradually, a smile appeared on Lin Moyu's lips. Is that so? Seeing this scene, the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor said in unison, someone's going to be in trouble. The two looked at each other and smiled. They both knew Lin Moyu's temperament. When Lin Moyu spoke like this, someone was bound to be in trouble. For Lin Moyu, killing was as easy as drinking water. That great Tao realm expert was 90% likely to be finished. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3609, 3609. Chapter 3609, said he'd kill, and killed. Lin Moyu's words were heard not only by those in the outer sky great Tao, but also by many patriarchs of sects and forces on the origin continent. 10 years ago, great Tao realm or pseudo-great Tao realm patriarchs had appeared in various forces. They all understood that the arrival of these people from the outer sky great Tao could bring either fortune or disaster. Unexpectedly, Lin Moyu had spoken such words, clearly protecting the origin continent's native forces. Little did they know that Lin Moyu spoke this way entirely because of the mandate of heaven. The mandate of heaven had Lin Moyu guard the origin continent, not allowing any major destruction before its complete recovery. This was why Lin Moyu spoke as he did. He first gave a warning. If anyone disobeyed, they would be violating the mandate of heaven. If he then acted to kill them, the karmic consequences would be borne by the mandate and great Tao. Lin Moyu's lips curled in a smile. It seems the force behind you is quite strong. That person chuckled. Naturally. This Tao Lord comes from the Yellow Springs Tao sect. He looked quite proud, seemingly very pleased with his Yellow Springs Tao sect background. Lin Moyu shook his head slightly. Never heard of it. Why don't you tell me how formidable the Yellow Springs Tao sect is? The man laughed even more wildly. As expected of a bumpkin who's never left the outer sky great Tao, you haven't even heard of the Yellow Springs Tao sect. The Yellow Springs Tao sect is a top sect in the outer sky great Tao, with countless Tao lords. Someone like you doesn't even rank. Lin Moyu made a sound of acknowledgement. Seems quite strong indeed. So, you're certain you want to violate the rules of set down? The man sneered repeatedly. Your rules are like dog shit before this Tao Lord. Others may fear you have Tao Lords backing you, but this Tao Lord is not afraid. Dog shit. Lin Moyu chuckled softly. In his eyes, this person was already no different from a dead man. At this moment, Lin Moyu represented the mandate of heaven. When the other party uttered the words, "dog shit," he had already violated the mandate of heaven. His fortune was rapidly diminishing. Lin Moyu could see it clearly. Lin Moyu snapped his fingers, and a skeleton god general appeared in the air. The skeleton god general, at the peak of the 7th grade innate soul realm, wore white bone armor with white light swirling around it and black chi-like dragons outside the armor. It emanated a terrifying aura, transforming into a stream of light and directly attacking that great Tao realm expert. The skeleton god general's speed was astonishingly fast, crossing millions of meters in an instant to reach the man. The man was clearly startled and quickly retreated. But no matter how fast he retreated, he couldn't outpace the sword light. The sword light swept over. The man screamed and took out a mirror treasure. The treasure was clearly also of the great Tao realm. It grew with the wind, instantly becoming extremely large. The sword light fell on the mirror. With a boom, the treasure shattered instantly. Fortunately, the sword light also dissipated. Before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the skeleton god general had already struck with a second sword. He was locked onto by the skeleton god general. Under the sword light, there was nowhere to hide. He took out a small pagoda again. The small pagoda immediately enlarged, also a great Tao realm treasure, though not of high grade. Boom! The small pagoda spewed yellow light, but was split to pieces by the sword light. The small pagoda also shattered within the sword light. The skeleton god general's hand didn't stop, striking out a third sword. He took out another treasure to block. Lin Moyu watched. Quite a lot of treasures, This person came from the Yellow Springs Tao sect. Since he came here to establish a legacy, he naturally carried many treasures. Whether for rewards or for fighting, they were very useful. Unfortunately, he encountered Lin Moyu. The skeleton god general struck out sword after sword. No matter how many treasures he had, they were all broken with one strike. Within the sword light was intense death force. Even if the treasures were strong enough, they would be corroded by the death force. After shattering 7 treasures in succession, the man's treasures were finally exhausted. He flew to escape, his speed extremely fast, but unfortunately not faster than the general. There was a fundamental difference in strength between the two. The skeleton god general caught up and locked onto him as if teleporting, striking out with a sword. He only had time to cry out half a no, before being engulfed by the sword light. A 9th grade innate soul great Tao realm expert had no power to resist against a 7th grade innate soul skeleton god general. The great Tao realm that countless patriarchs of the origin continent dreamed of was as fragile as an ant before Lin Moyu. Even after killing him, Lin Moyu didn't know the man's name or background, only that he was a reckless youth from the Yellow Springs Tao sect. After his death, Lin Moyu felt no karmic consequences. Under the mandate of heaven, the great Tao covered for him. This person's death was in vain. If the Yellow Springs Tao sect dared to come seek revenge, the unfortunate one would certainly be the Yellow Springs Tao sect. Seeing Lin Moyu kill so decisively, all the great Tao realm experts who had entered couldn't help but draw in cold breaths. They now realized that Lin Moyu wasn't joking, but serious. After killing the man, Lin Moyu recalled the skeleton god general and spoke loudly again, "Everyone, please abide by the rules. My temper isn't very good." After saying this, Lin Moyu said no more. The group of great Tao realm experts in the sky had strange expressions. They all bowed to Lin Moyu, then dispersed. They began establishing legacies according to the areas they had previously divided up. Lin Moyu still sat motionless in the center, continuing to comprehend the great Tao. The great changes in heaven and earth seemed to have ended, but were actually still continuing. The surface was calm, but underneath, waves surged. The former 5 continents had sunk, becoming today's central continent. Over countless years, the evolution of the great Tao of heaven and earth was very long, worth carefully comprehending. In the outer sky great Tao, the 3rd ancestor chuckled, "That Lin kid is still so decisive, saying he'd kill and killing." The beast emperor said, "I don't believe you didn't see that brother Lin did it on purpose." The 3rd ancestor said, "I can understand these schemes of his, but I can't see the deeper levels. He hides them well, but we can be certain he must have his own calculations. Just sitting there motionless is problematic." The beast emperor had now become a Tao lord and saw things more clearly than before. He also noticed some clues. The place where brother Lin sits as the center of the origin continent. Could it be that he wants to emulate the Lord of Hell and become the master of this world? The third ancestor shook his head. It's possible. With his ambition, perhaps not just the origin continent. The Beast Emperor was shocked. You mean he's set his sights on the origin ancestral land? Could his guts be that big? The third ancestor chuckled. That's hard to say. Don't forget the person behind him. Would that being cultivate him just to be a Tao Lord? Or the master of one world? That would be underestimating that being too much. The Beast Emperor felt the third ancestor's words made sense. Indeed, we can't look at the issue from our perspective. The third ancestor said, let's not talk about this. That kid is fine, we don't need to intervene. Why don't we go watch the show at the Great Tao Formation sect? The one who just left should be the world-sealing Tao Lord, right? He's probably going to settle scores with the Great Tao Formation sect. The Beast Emperor immediately became interested. Let's go, let's go. Who would have thought that right after becoming a Tao Lord, we'd get to see such a show? The third ancestor said, let's be clear first, the karma between the world-sealing Tao Lord and the Great Tao Formation sect is extremely great. No matter what happens, we shouldn't intervene. There's no benefit in it. The Beast Emperor said, of course, I'm not stupid. In the Great Tao Formation sect, thunder rolled continuously, not stopping for 1,000 years. The Formation sect had suffered countless casualties. The world was sealed, and no one could leave. Now the Great Tao Formation sect barely survived in the heavenly punishment relying on the origin formation. The sect master of the Great Tao Formation sect, the heavenly formation Tao Lord, had a gloomy expression. What did our sect do wrong? What did our sect do wrong? What did you do wrong? You erred greatly. With a wild laugh, the water-stop Tao Venerable appeared outside the Great Tao Formation sect. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3610, 3610. Chapter 3610, so you might as well die. The heavenly formation Tao Lord saw water-stop Tao Venerable and was slightly stunned, as he did not recognize him. Moreover, he was just a small Tao Venerable who could be extinguished with a breath, so the heavenly formation Tao Lord did not take him seriously at all. But when he saw the heavenly formation on water-stop Tao Venerable's back, and the black-robed person at the center of the formation, the heavenly formation Tao Lord suddenly understood. So it's you schemed against us. Water-stop Tao Venerable chuckled softly. You're allowed to scheme against others, but others aren't allowed to scheme against you. You're thinking too highly of yourself. The heavenly formation Tao Lord now understood that the world-sealing Tao Lord had sacrificed his life to reincarnate and scheme against the Great Tao Formation sect, throwing all the karmic consequences onto the Great Tao Formation sect. Destroying the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation was seen by the Great Tao as betraying the origin continent, even becoming an enemy of the origin continent, thus bringing down heavenly punishment. The heavenly formation Tao Lord said softly, what a miscalculation. Water-stop Tao Venerable suddenly changed his tone, becoming extremely solemn. In my first life, you were called the heavenly formation Tao Lord, master of the Great Tao Formation sect. You accepted me as a disciple of the sect. I was born with a heavenly formation, and you, in order to obtain my heavenly formation, first gained my trust, then schemed against me, causing my death. In my second life, I cultivated again to the Great Tao realm, named the world-sealing Tao Lord, to settle the grudges from my previous life with you all. You used the origin formation to attack me, and I fled into the origin continent, but you pursued me relentlessly. During the origin catastrophe, you closed your doors and locked down your sect, ignoring the origin catastrophe, only for your own selfish interests. Later, I received the mandate of heaven to set up the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation at the bottom of the boundary sea. You violated the heavenly mandate, destroyed the formation, intending to harm the origin continent. Do you know that the heaven-sealing Tao-severing formation was a formation mandated by heaven? How many people sacrificed their lives for this formation? The cursed Great Tao Lord and I both received the heavenly mandate. He sacrificed his life to lay down a curse, sealing the intelligence of the outer gods, allowing me to complete the great formation, only to be sabotaged by you all. You are enemies of the Great Tao, enemies of the world. Alas, I exhausted my strength setting up the formation and died, only waiting for my third life to settle accounts with you all again. Though my second life's body died, it still remains. With this heavenly formation, I communicate with the mandate of heaven and the Great Tao, to cleanse the filth and rectify the Tao heart. Cleanse the filth, rectify the Tao heart. His words echoed in the void, the heavenly formation on his back operating ceaselessly, erupting with shocking power. The Tai-Yang and Tai-Yin origins shone down, Yin and Yang origins intertwining to form an extremely special Tao. This Tao seemed to be the foundation of the entire world, the starting point of the origin continent. The moment this Tao appeared, the heavenly punishment lightning shrouding the great Tao formation sect became even more fierce. Even the origin formation began to become unstable at this moment. The heavenly formation Tao Lord's face became extremely ugly. He had already guessed what Waterstop Tao Lord was going to do. At this moment, Waterstop Tao Venerable boldly stepped forward, breaking through to the great Tao realm. The heavenly punishment fire descended, and the heavenly formation activated, directing all the heavenly punishment fire into the formation. The heavenly punishment lightning mixed with the heavenly punishment fire, its power increasing sharply. The disaster for the great Tao formation sect turned into doomsday. In the void, the Beast Emperor and the Third Ancestor watched, looking at each other in astonishment. The Beast Emperor said softly, "Look, this is what you call scheming. Compared to this person's schemes, what we've done amounts to nothing." The Third Ancestor narrowed his eyes. "Indeed, compared to this, our schemes really don't amount to much." He entered the game himself, thoroughly scheming the great Tao formation sect to death. After this battle, I'm afraid there will be no more great Tao formation sect, and the Tao Lord of the formation great Tao should appear. The Beast Emperor raised an eyebrow. "You think he can become the Tao Lord of the formation great Tao? But he's not even in the great Tao realm yet." The Third Ancestor said softly, "He isn't, but the world-sealing Tao Lord is, isn't he? Just watch." That speech he just gave, he told it to the great Tao through the heavenly formation. Do you know what a heavenly formation is? It's a natural formation, a formation bestowed by the heavenly mandate. All I can say is that the old fool from the great Tao formation sect was too stupid, daring to covet even a heavenly formation. He deserves his misfortune. The appearance of a heavenly formation actually means that this person is the Tao Lord of the formation great Tao chosen by the heavenly mandate. Unless you don't want to survive in the origin continent anymore, don't try to compete with the heavenly mandate and great Tao for a person. The Third Ancestor spoke with great detail, and the Beast Emperor had to admit that this was indeed the case. Waterstop Tao Lord brought forth the heavenly punishment fire, then through the heavenly formation, reported to the mandate of heaven and the great Tao, speaking of his own suffering and the evil of the great Tao formation sect. The mandate of heaven and the great Tao seemed to understand, and the punishment they sent down became even more severe. Waterstop Tao Venerable entered the great Tao realm and spoke loudly again. "The great Tao formation sect is selfish and has betrayed the origin. This sect should not exist in the world. The great Tao is impartial, rewarding good and punishing evil. I ask the great Tao to assist me in eradicating this sect, erasing all traces of its existence." His voice was extremely sincere, sounding full of anger. He stood on the side of the great Tao, speaking not for himself, but for the great Tao. His voice, through the heavenly formation, sounded like the voice of the great Tao, echoing in the void. Within the sound, the heavenly formation fully manifested, transforming into a huge formation in the sky, falling onto the top of the formation sect. All the heavenly punishment lightning and fire had to pass through the heavenly formation. As they passed through the heavenly formation, the power of the lightning and fire increased again, but still couldn't break through the origin formation. The origin formation was the foundation of the formation great Tao, its power truly incredibly strong. The heavenly formation Tao Lord snorted coldly. "It's useless, you don't understand the origin formation at all, you can't break it. When the heavenly punishment retreats, it will be your time to die." Waterstop Tao Venerable spoke loudly again. "I use the heavenly formation as proof, earnestly requesting the great Tao to descend, suppress the origin formation, and cleanse the filth." The heavenly formation flashed brightly, rotating rapidly. The great Tao heard Waterstop Tao Venerable's call. At the intersection of yin and yang origins, a Tao became more and more solid. This Tao contained the power of all the Taos in the origin continent. Under the intertwining of yin and yang origins, the Tao let out a rumble. Screams came from within the great Tao formation sect as their origin formation's defense was greatly weakened. The great Tao heard Waterstop Tao Lord's request and began to suppress the origin formation. At this time, Waterstop Tianzun's soul flew into the world-sealing Tao Lord's body. The seated world-sealing Tao Lord's eyes suddenly blazed, and divine runes flew out from his fingertips, quickly forming another formation around the great Tao formation sect. This formation worked in conjunction with the heavenly formation, further strengthening the power transmitted by the heavenly formation. At the same time, the Great Tao, amidst the rumbling, gradually suppressed the origin formation. The Great Tao formation sect became precarious, with less and less ground for the disciples to stand on. Inside the Great Tao formation sect, a formation lit up, but as soon as it touched the heavenly punishment lightning, it exploded. It seemed that apart from the origin formation, no other formation could withstand the heavenly punishment lightning. "I'll kill you," the heavenly formation Tao Lord roared angrily, rushing towards Waterstop Tao Venerable. Waterstop Tao Venerable said softly, "Unfortunately, though you call yourself the heavenly formation Tao Lord, you have no heavenly formation. Your name doesn't match reality, so you might as well die." The world-sealing Tao Lord formed a divine rune, which flew out and transformed into a great Tao realm expert. The great Tao realm expert blocked the heavenly formation Tao Lord, while the heavenly punishment didn't stop because of this. The origin formation became weaker and weaker, and there was almost nowhere left to stand in the great Tao formation sect. One formation master after another fell to the ground, dying beyond death. Waterstop Tao Venerable showed no mercy at all. His goal was to destroy the Great Tao formation sect. Merely killing some disciples wasn't enough to vent his anger. He continuously drew divine runes, creating one Great Tao realm expert after another, surrounding the heavenly formation Tao Lord. The heavenly formation Tao Lord was also a first-grade innate soul, but he relied too much on formations. Once formations were restricted, his combat power would greatly decrease. Now all the Taos in the sect were suppressed. He couldn't even use the origin formation, let alone other formations. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3611, 3611. Chapter 3611, Waterstop attains the Tao. A great formation appeared within the Great Tao formation sect. The formation emitted dense origin power, with the formation Great Tao faintly visible. The sect master, the heavenly formation Tao Lord, forcefully activated the origin formation with his powerful cultivation to resist the heavenly punishment. The origin formation was the foundation of the formation Great Tao. It could be used to wield the formation Great Tao, which was why the formation sect was called the #1 sect for formations. Waterstop Tao Venerable chuckled. Using the origin formation to resist the mandate of heaven, well done. His words were full of sarcasm. No matter how strong the formation Great Tao was, it still belonged under the mandate of heaven and had to bow its head. The heavenly formation Tao Lord doing this would only make the mandate of heaven more angry. The mandate of heaven would see this as betrayal, betraying the entire world. Sure enough, the heavenly punishment became more intense. A huge eye faintly appeared in the void. The opening of the eye of heavenly punishment meant that the heavenly punishment had reached its highest level. Before there might have been a way to survive, but now there would be no mercy. The heavenly formation Tao Lord roared angrily, "Everything is because of your schemes. This Tao Lord has done nothing wrong. Why, the Great Tao is unfair." Waterstop Tao Venerable said coldly, "Your fault lies in your extreme selfishness, in your insatiable greed, in not understanding the Great Tao. You do not conform to the Great Tao, vainly attempting to refine the origin formation to achieve your personal Tao. That is your crime. The Great Tao does not belong to you alone. You lack virtue and ability yet want to forcibly occupy it. Do you know how the Great Tao formation sect is viewed by the world?" The heavenly formation Tao Lord roared, "Why should I care about the opinions of those insects? If one does not look out for oneself, heaven and earth will destroy them. This Tao Lord is not wrong." Waterstop Tao Venerable said coldly, "If that's the case, then take your lack of wrongdoing to your death." As he spoke, he took out a jade tablet. The jade tablet activated and expanded, revealing a corner of a great formation. This corner of the formation also emitted dense origin power, no different from the origin formation of the Great Tao formation sect. In his previous life as the world-sealing Tao Lord, he had once used the heaven-sealing Tao severing formation to suppress the Great Tao formation sect. In that chaos, though the world-sealing Tao Lord was severely injured, he had forcibly taken 3 sides from the origin formation. The origin formation had been incomplete ever since. So no matter how much time the heavenly formation Tao Lord had, he could never achieve the position of Tao Lord relying on the origin formation. Waterstop Tao Venerable continued, "You lack virtue and ability. You are not worthy of possessing the origin formation. On behalf of the mandate of heaven, I take back the origin." As he spoke, that corner of the origin formation merged into his heavenly formation. At the same time, Water-Stop Tao Venerable's soul flew into the world-sealing Tao Lord. The world-sealing Tao Lord, dead for many years, suddenly opened his eyes. A powerful aura soared to the sky. The first great innate soul world-sealing Tao Lord seemed to have come back to life at this moment. A beam of colorful light suddenly fell, landing on the world-sealing Tao Lord. The great Tao reward came rolling in. In the distant void, the third ancestor's expression suddenly changed. This guy has even schemed against me. The Beast Emperor didn't understand. What does it have to do with you? The third ancestor said softly, I once obtained a piece of flesh from the world-sealing Tao Lord and refined it into a blood demon to enter the heaven-sealing Tao severing formation. Then I gave it to the Lin kid, letting him kill an 8-winged outer god for me. Now it seems that piece of flesh was deliberately let go by the world-sealing Tao Lord. This way, part of this great merit also counts towards him, allowing him to obtain quite a bit of great Tao reward. With this great Tao reward, he can temporarily unite his soul and flesh, allowing him to manipulate the heavenly formation, merge with the origin formation, and work with the mandate of heaven to kill the heavenly formation Tao Lord. The Beast Emperor listened in a daze. Is it that complicated? The third ancestor said, it's not complicated. He just schemed for countless years. Over such a long time, the probability of failure was extremely high. But he still did it, which shows how bold he is. Compared to him, the heavenly formation Tao Lord is like a child. The heavenly formation Tao Lord only knew how to cling to the origin formation, tilling his own small plot of land, selfish and self-interested. It's only natural that he didn't become a Tao Lord. Under the great Tao reward, the world-sealing Tao Lord temporarily maintained the unity of soul and flesh. At this moment, it was as if the world-sealing Tao Lord was reborn. Under his control, the power of the heavenly formation reached its peak. The heavenly formation flew above the great Tao formation sect, turning into a huge vortex, generating suction power. The endless suction only acted on the origin formation, becoming the last straw that broke the camel's back for the origin formation. The origin formation, already suppressed by the mandate of heaven, could no longer hold on and shattered with a boom. No, the heavenly formation Tao Lord roared, blood bursting from his eyes as his eyeballs exploded. The origin formation he had refined for countless years, which held all his hopes, shattered at this moment. After shattering, all the fragments of the origin formation were sucked away by the heavenly formation and merged with it. The heavenly formation then underwent changes, beginning to emit origin aura, even more intense than the previous origin formation. The heavenly formation Tao Lord's eyes spurted blood. It's all mine, it's all mine. He roared repeatedly, but could do nothing to stop it. Without the origin formation, the heavenly punishment lightning carrying the great Tao fire fell on him like raindrops. His aura was rapidly weakening, and his realm was regressing. The mandate of heaven's way of dealing with traitors was simple: cut off their cultivation, sever their foundation, scatter their soul. The world-sealing Tao Lord watched coldly, without a trace of pity, and didn't say a word. The heavenly formation operated, merging with the origin formation. Origin aura rolled down, falling onto Water-Stop Tao Venerable. Water-Stop Tao Venerable instantly entered the great Tao realm. From this moment on, Water-Stop Tao Venerable could change his name to Water-Stop Tao Lord. The decline of the heavenly formation Tao Lord and the rise of Water-Stop Tao Lord formed a stark contrast. Without the origin formation, under the heavenly punishment lightning, countless cultivators in the great Tao formation sect screamed. One formation master after another died tragically. The great Tao was merciless and wouldn't calculate whether you should die or not. At this moment, everyone in the great Tao formation sect only had death awaiting them, with no exceptions. Finally, the heavenly formation Tao Lord fell from the great Tao realm. His lifetime of cultivation was destroyed in an instant, and his entire being turned to ash, his soul scattered. At this time, the world-sealing Tao Lord looked down at Water-Stop Tao Lord, looking at his third life. His body exploded with a boom, countless pieces of flesh enveloping Water-Stop Tao Lord. Water-Stop Tao Lord's aura soared rapidly, his soul growing stronger and stronger. In the blink of an eye, he had broken through to the 7th grade innate soul, then continued to grow stronger, as if there was no end. The heavenly formation had already merged with the origin formation and returned to Water-Stop Tao Lord's back. With a hum, the void shook, and the formation Great Tao appeared. Water-Stop Tao Lord let out a roar, stepping onto the formation Great Tao. The power of the great Tao enveloped him, continuously elevating his power. 6th grade innate soul, 5th grade innate soul, 4th grade innate soul. Waterstop Tao Lord's power increased non-stop. In just 10 minutes, he had stepped into the 3rd grade innate soul. In the distance, the third ancestor and the Beast Emperor came together, along with several other majestic figures appearing, watching this scene from afar. Those who came here were all Tao Lords of various Taos. A moment later, the great Tao resonated. Brilliant light burst forth in the void, and a huge formation appeared in the void. The formation represented the great Tao. Waterstop Tao Lord stood atop the formation, raising his head and letting out a long roar. Several Tao Lords offered their congratulations. Congratulations, friend, on attaining the position of Tao Lord. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3612, 3612. Chapter 3612, A Whole New World. When Waterstop Tao Lord became a Tao Lord, Lin Moyu, far away in the origin continent, suddenly felt something and glanced towards the outer sky great Tao. Though he couldn't see anything, he felt that something good must have happened. This was because his fortune had increased significantly again, which should mean that someone related to him had encountered great fortune, causing his own fortune to change. Combining this with Waterstop's earlier departure, Lin Moyu had pretty much guessed what happened. Senior Waterstop must have achieved his wish. At this time, someone flew over from afar. He wore an exquisite Tao robe, which itself was a great Tao realm treasure. He landed in front of Lin Moyu and bowed. Junior Mo Sheng, from the Heavenly Water Tao sect, greets the senior. May the senior have peace. He was very polite, his tone and manner natural, not deliberately feigned. Lin Moyu said, "Do you have some business?" Mo Sheng said, "Junior has come to offer a gift to the senior." Lin Moyu said, "I don't accept unearned rewards. Tell me what you want to do first." Mo Sheng said, "Our Heavenly Water Tao sect cultivates the Heavenly Water Great Tao. We hope the senior can arrange a water attribute origin spirit vein for our legacy grounds. This should not be difficult for the senior." To be honest, Mo Sheng's request was not high. Under the central continent, there were many origin spirit veins, and many of them had some attributes. The 5 elements attributes were the most common, and water attribute origin spirit veins were not scarce. Originally, these great Tao realm experts could obtain origin spirit veins through their own instincts. But now that Lin Moyu was in charge here, no one dared to act. The person from the Yellow Springs Tao sect was the best example, killed for a single disagreement, clearly showing Lin Moyu's dominance. So to obtain a suitable origin spirit vein, this matter ultimately had to be requested from Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu looked at Mo Sheng. "Indeed, it's not a difficult matter. But if everyone made such requests like you, the rules would be in chaos." Mo Sheng was at a loss for words. It was indeed so. If everyone did this, the rules Lin Moyu had set down earlier would be in chaos. Lin Moyu continued, "I can't break the rules I set myself, so I won't agree to this. You don't need to bring out your gift either. Please leave." Mo Sheng wasn't displeased, but smiled and said, "It's all right if the senior is unwilling. Junior still must give this gift. It's nothing valuable, perhaps the senior could obtain it from others as well." Saying this, Mo Sheng placed a jade tablet on the ground, then turned and left. Lin Moyu frowned slightly. With a thought from his soul, he naturally obtained the information in the jade tablet. The jade tablet contained some information about various forces in the outer sky Great Tao. The information wasn't very detailed, but it was enough for Lin Moyu to understand the general situation in the outer sky Great Tao. Various Great Taos and forces were entrenched there, with countless large and small forces. The Yellow Springs Tao sect was among them, belonging to the top-tier forces. They mainly cultivated the Yellow Springs Great Tao, a branch of the Hell Great Tao. The patriarch of their sect was the Tao Lord of the Yellow Springs Great Tao. Though not as powerful as an origin Tao Lord, he was still top-tier among the branch Tao Lords. The Yellow Springs Great Tao was extremely vicious, and cultivators of other Great Taos were unwilling to offend them. Most importantly, the Yellow Springs Tao sect was extremely protective of their own. The person who entered the origin continent this time, named Huang Kun, was a direct descendant of the Yellow Springs Tao sect master, with an extraordinary status in the sect. His death meant the Yellow Springs Tao sect definitely wouldn't let it go easily. Lin Moyu finally understood that Mo Sheng's main purpose in coming was to curry favor. Whether or not they got the water attribute origin spirit vein was a small matter, the key was to establish a good relationship with him. Requesting the origin spirit vein was just an excuse, a way to give Lin Moyu the jade tablet. This was why, after being refused, he left so decisively but still found a reason to give Lin Moyu the jade tablet. Whether Lin Moyu was willing or not, this favor was considered given. The people who came down from the outer sky Great Tao had already found their own territories in the central continent and were building houses and establishing legacies on a grand scale. They had brought many houses directly from the outer sky Great Tao, originally thinking they could use them immediately, but it turned out they couldn't. The origin continent hadn't fully recovered yet, and houses from the outer sky Great Tao were rejected by the land. As soon as they were placed, they were shredded by invisible forces. With no choice, they had to build using local materials. Lin Moyu didn't interfere with them on this matter. He was still comprehending the evolution of the Great Tao, fine-tuning his own yin-yang origin based on his insights. In the blink of an eye, 10 days passed. In Lin Moyu's soul world, there were already over 100 world spirits. These world spirits had various appearances, strange and diverse, all born from Lin Moyu's thoughts. The only common point was that these world spirits always came in pairs. Each time, 2 identical world spirits would evolve, then change to a different form. Lin Moyu had already discovered that different forms resulted in different attributes for the world spirits. Human-shaped world spirits had the most comprehensive attributes, with almost all types of attributes present. Snake-shaped world spirits tended towards yin attributes, and the power contained within also leaned in this direction. If it was a large world spirit shaped like a bear, its attributes would lean more towards the Tai-Yang origin. Different world spirits combined in different ways would ultimately form different power Daos. 100 world spirits were enough, and Lin Moyu temporarily stopped. Then, with a thought, he began to merge the human-shaped world spirits. They flowed into each other's bodies like water, completing the process of 2 becoming 1. During this process, both of their body shapes constantly twisted and changed, finally forming a peculiar shape. Lin Moyu couldn't describe this shape in words. It seemed oval, but not quite, with angles in certain parts. Although the world's shape was very peculiar, it was undeniably a brand new world, full of vigorous vitality. This vigorous vitality would one day evolve into countless living beings, making this world more perfect. Lin Moyu carefully observed the entire process of world spirit fusion, making timely adjustments based on his comprehension. Under Lin Moyu's precise control, the yin-yang origin continuously poured origin power into the newborn world. The origin power intertwined, collided, and exploded in this small world, evolving into its own origin power, and then into various great Daos. At this moment, he felt like he had become the creator of a whole new world, giving him an indescribable sense of achievement. In the process of the world's formation and evolution, Lin Moyu seemed to see how the origin continent changed when it was first formed. Of course, the small world he was creating now couldn't compare to the origin continent, and couldn't even match the boundary sea world. But the future was uncertain. Lin Moyu was patient. He knew that the path he was to walk was different from everyone else's. No one had walked this path before. He might be the first in the origin continent, destined to explore it on his own. Just like in the small world, the path he walked was also unprecedented. Now it was happening again. Lin Moyu's Tao heart was firm. Once he decided on something, he wouldn't turn back. Someone was rapidly flying over from afar. Lin Moyu turned to look, and a huge turtle came into view. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3613, 3613. Chapter 3613, Waterstop's Mandate of Heaven. Lin Moyu chuckled lightly. How should I address you? Tao Lord Waterstop. It's just a name, does it matter how you call me? Waterstop laughed softly. Lin Moyu said, then I'll still call you Senior Waterstop. The one who came over now was an avatar Waterstop had left in the origin continent. Waterstop had already become a Tao Lord, and his true body was currently in the outer sky Great Tao, unable to return for now. Lin Moyu said, first, congratulations on achieving your wish and attaining the position of Tao Lord. Waterstop looked at him strangely. How did you know? Lin Moyu said, don't forget my current identity. I've temporarily received the mandate of heaven, so I can sense when major events happen in the outer sky Great Tao. Waterstop didn't dwell on this question. The main reason I came to find you this time is to ask what you plan to do next. Lin Moyu said, I've temporarily received the mandate of heaven and can't leave the origin continent. As for the future, I'll naturally enter the outer sky Great Tao. Waterstop said, the outer sky Great Tao isn't peaceful. Be careful when you enter. Lin Moyu said, please speak plainly, senior. Waterstop said, I only discovered this after becoming a Tao Lord. There's a force that's infiltrating the Great Tao of the origin continent. You know I have the heavenly formation. Actually, the heavenly formation and the origin formation come from the same source. You can view them as the yin and yang of the formation Great Tao itself. The origin formation is yang, on the surface. The heavenly formation is yin, born with me. So I was born to become the Lord of the formation Great Tao. My fate was actually bestowed by heaven. Lin Moyu could understand Waterstop's words. If the Great Tao designated you as the Tao Lord of the formation Great Tao, there must be a reason. The Great Tao has no wisdom, only instinct. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't interfere with the normal operation of the world unless it encountered something like the origin catastrophe. Moreover, the Great Tao wouldn't do meaningless things. Since it did this, there must be profound meaning behind it. And Waterstop's first life was long before the origin catastrophe. Why would the Great Tao do this? Waterstop continued. I was born with the mandate of heaven and should have become the Tao Lord of the formation Great Tao before the origin catastrophe, then set up the Great Formation to fulfill the mandate. But later, due to the heavenly formation Tao Lord's selfish greed, I had to reincarnate twice, unable to fulfill the mandate. This also led to the world being severely damaged during the origin catastrophe. Lin Moyu said, according to what you say, you were born with the mandate of heaven. The heavenly formation Tao Lord shouldn't have been able to stop you. And your mandate shouldn't have been related to the origin catastrophe. Waterstop said, that's right. Normally, it shouldn't have been like this. But that infiltrating force silently influenced the development of events. Originally, the heavenly formation Tao Lord shouldn't have acted like that either. Lin Moyu's brow furrowed deeper. He had already cleared up his thoughts. Normally, when the Great Tao is influenced by some external force, to solve this problem, Waterstop was born with the mandate of heaven and should have become a Tao Lord, then set up the Great Formation to block the external force. But that external force also discovered this point and influenced the heavenly formation Tao Lord, thus changing Waterstop's fate. Waterstop couldn't become the formation Tao Lord in his first life, which led to the origin continent suffering more severe damage during the later origin catastrophe, requiring countless years to recover. But Lin Moyu also discovered a problem in this. If the Great Tao was severely damaged, why didn't that force take the opportunity to invade? Waterstop said, it's because of the destiny Great Tao. The other party's invasion method is very peculiar. It's through influencing the destiny Great Tao to influence the world. But during the origin catastrophe, the destiny Great Tao was destroyed. That force lost its anchor and couldn't take the opportunity to sneak attack. Later, when the destiny Great Tao recovered, it had to lock on again. Obviously, this process is very troublesome and complex. Lin Moyu asked, has it come back now? Waterstop shook his head. I don't know. Maybe it's back, maybe not. Even if it's back, it might have changed its method of influencing this world. Lin Moyu was somewhat puzzled. Then what exactly does it want to do? Waterstop still shook his head. It's not clear. We need to find this answer ourselves, but it certainly won't be anything good. Perhaps many people in the outer sky Great Tao are already under its influence. I'm telling you all this to warn you to be very careful of that force's influence when you enter the outer sky Great Tao. It's subtle and hard to grasp. Even those below Tao Lord level might fall for its tricks. Lin Moyu nodded. I understand. Thank you, Senior. Then does Senior plan to set up the Great Formation next to protect this world? Waterstop made a sound of agreement. That's right. This is my mandate of heaven. I must do this. This matter won't be accomplished overnight. It might take countless years. During this period, I can't spare attention for other things. Lin Moyu understood. Waterstop's visit this time was actually to say goodbye. He would be leaving for a very long time. Lin Moyu said, then I wish you all the best in fulfilling your mandate. Waterstop looked Lin Moyu over. I know your ambition is great. You certainly won't be content to become an ordinary Tao Lord, confined to one realm. This is both good and bad. The world outside is extremely dangerous. You must be careful. After saying this, Waterstop's figure slowly disappeared. He had left. Lin Moyu fell into deep thought. Waterstop's visit this time was to tell him such secret matters. Believe that even many Tao Lords wouldn't know about this. Waterstop specifically came to tell him, clearly feeling that perhaps he had the ability to figure out this matter. Although the various Tao Lords were powerful, they were trapped in the origin world and unable to see clearly outside. But Lin Moyu was different. If anyone could solve this difficult problem, it would be him. At this moment, Lin Moyu thought of many things. He thought of Waterstop's experiences life after life, and of the Lord of Hell's death. It could be certain that the Lord of Hell wasn't killed by experts from the God Realm or Black Blood Realm. They didn't have that ability. As the one who killed the Lord of Hell, the same person secretly scheming against the Origin continent. If it really is him, then he actually intervened during the Origin catastrophe. And the wasteland where the ancestor dragon went, what kind of place is it exactly? Does the force influencing the Destiny Great Tao come from the wasteland? The wasteland is somewhat similar to the ancient battlefield in the small world. The mutated dragon corpses also seem a bit like the ancient beasts. If this is really the case, what kind of existence is the wasteland? What exactly is their purpose? This question was extremely complex. Even if Lin Moyu racked his brains, he couldn't figure it out. For now, he could only take it one step at a time. Lin Moyu knew that the most important thing was still to strengthen himself. Only with enough strength could he solve various difficulties. He comprehended the changes of the world, which was actually a kind of cultivation. The cultivation of the Great Tao Realm was to strengthen the soul level, and his comprehension had this effect. At the same time, Lin Moyu was waiting for a group of people to deliver themselves to him, giving him a chance to establish his authority. He wanted to make all those restless hearts stop beating. After he had sat for a month, a team came from the outer sky Great Tao and stopped above the Origin continent. A Great Tao appeared above the team, with yellow rivers flowing within, emitting a nauseating stench. The people to let him establish his authority had arrived. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3614, 3614. Chapter 3614, Better to Strike First. The forces of the Yellow Springs Tao sect arrived, riding the Yellow Springs Great Tao. Within the Yellow Springs Great Tao, countless Great Tao spirit beasts floated. Several dozen Great Tao realm experts coldly gazed down at the central continent, focusing on Lin Moyu. The leader spoke in a low voice. Was it you who killed Huang-kun? His voice stabbed like a sharp knife, but was blocked by the Great Tao power enveloping the Origin continent, falling ineffectively. This person's cultivation had reached the 4th grade innate soul, considered a strong expert among Great Tao realm beings. Killing a newly advanced Great Tao realm figure like Lin Moyu shouldn't be difficult. Lin Moyu looked up. Have you come to avenge Huang-kun? The man shouted. My name is Huang Shang, I am Huang-kun's uncle. Hurry up and come here to accept your death. Lin Moyu spoke calmly. Do you know that if you move against me, those Tao Lords won't let you off? Huang Shang laughed. Don't think having Tao Lords backing you is anything special. Our Yellow Springs Tao sect also has Tao Lords. Moreover, you struck first. We've come for revenge, so even the Tao Lords can't say anything. The Yellow Springs Tao sect was indeed protective of their own, not even putting Tao Lords in their eyes. The outer sky Great Tao was not peaceful. According to the information Mo Sheng provided, the Yellow Springs Tao sect had relationships with several other Great Tao sects, forming an alliance. There were several Tao Lords within the alliance, and they advanced and retreated together, which was why they had the confidence to speak like this. Above the central continent, countless people watched the domineering Yellow Springs Tao sect. Someone said, the Yellow Springs Tao sect's protectiveness is famous. I didn't expect them to really come knocking. But why did they wait so long to come? Shouldn't they have come earlier? Don't you know about the Yellow Springs Tao sect's Hell Alliance? They must have discussed it, and the Tao Lords in the alliance will move to block the Tao Lords behind Lin Moyu. Although that alliance only has one origin Tao Lord, there are still several branch Tao Lords. If they take action, even the Tao Lords behind Lin Moyu won't have an easy time. But they can't enter either. Only 9th grade innate souls can enter now. As long as Lin Moyu doesn't go out, he has nothing to fear. But Lin Moyu can't stay here forever. At most in 1,000 years, when the origin continent fully recovers, they'll be able to come down. It won't take 1,000 years. In at most 300 to 500 years, 6th or 5th grade Great Dao Realm experts will be able to come down. Then Lin Moyu will be in danger. He was really impulsive at the time. He shouldn't have killed so decisively. Countless people were discussing, thinking Lin Moyu must be very troubled now. Yellow Springs Dao Sect fellows, you're courting death. An angry roar sounded as the Question Heaven Dao Lord, clad in purple lightning, charged out from the void. He had learned of the situation here and came to help Lin Moyu. But halfway there, countless vines lashed out, forcing the Question Heaven Dao Lord back. The withering and flourishing elder snorted coldly, I am your opponent. The two battled in the void, evenly matched, neither able to overcome the other. As others had said, those Dao Lords standing behind Lin Moyu naturally had people to stop them. Lin Moyu sighed. To forge iron, one must be strong oneself. One truly can't rely on others. His gaze swept across the sky, and a faint light appeared in his palm. The light was initially a mix of gray and white, then turned completely gray. Die. He softly uttered this word, and the gray light disappeared from his palm, appearing the next instant above the heads of the Yellow Springs Dao Sect crowd, exploding on the spot. Great Dao Divine Ability, life or death. One thought determines life, one thought determines death. Between life and death, all is decided by Lin Moyu's single thought. The gray light came too fast, instantly sweeping across a large area of space. Countless people from the Yellow Springs Dao Sect cried out in agony. Their skin and flesh dissolved, their bodies rapidly rotting. Several Great Dao Realm experts of only the 9th grade died within a few short seconds, their Dao dissipating. Even those Great Dao Realm experts with powerful cultivation weren't faring well. They continuously activated their own power to resist the death force. They all found that their Great Dao power seemed to be restrained by the death force, even their Great Dao power rapidly dissolving. After a few seconds, over half of the several dozen people who had come from the Yellow Springs Dao Sect were dead or injured. The Yellow Springs no longer boiled. Within it, one spirit beast corpse after another floated up, all dead, their bodies rotting. Not bad at all. Lin Moyu smiled. Using a Great Dao Divine Ability for the first time, the effect was extremely satisfying. This scene terrified many 9th grade Great Dao Realm experts. They had witnessed with their own eyes many people with cultivation equal to or even stronger than their own turn to dust in the blink of an eye, their souls scattered. Even some experts of profound realms were in a miserable state. What kind of technique is this? How can it be so terrifying? What realm is Lin Moyu actually at? Why can he slaughter Great Dao Realm experts like dogs? This Lin Moyu is too terrifying. He's simply a god of death. The Yellow Springs Dao Sect has really kicked an iron plate this time. Let's see how they deal with this. At this time, a voice rang out, Brother Lin, what a fierce Great Dao Divine Ability. In the void, a group of giant whales flew over. The king of the Boundary Sea had arrived, with many Great Dao giant whales behind him. The Great Dao Giant Whale Clan were the kings of the Water Great Dao. Now that the king of the Boundary Sea had become the Dao Lord of the Water Great Dao, the Giant Whale Clan was at its peak. Lin Moyu stood up and cupped his hands. Senior, have you returned because you couldn't let go of the Boundary Sea? The king of the Boundary Sea said, Of course not. I heard someone was coming to cause trouble for you, so I came specially to take a look. Old Whale also wanted to see you. Behind the king of the Boundary Sea, a giant whale said softly, Dao friend Lin, long time no see. Lin Moyu also greeted Old Whale, long time no see, senior. I hope you've been well. The king of the Boundary Sea said, I originally wanted to deal with these fellows for Brother Lin, but I didn't expect Brother Lin's Great Dao Divine Ability to be so formidable. These fellows got what they deserved. Then he shouted at the survivors of the Yellow Springs Dao Sect, Get out of here quickly. The Yellow Springs Dao Sect people were greatly frightened and immediately fled in disarray. Lin Moyu chuckled. Senior, can you help me with something? The king of the Boundary Sea said, Just say it. Lin Moyu said, Lead the way to the Yellow Springs Dao Sect. The king of the Boundary Sea was stunned for a moment, then reacted, Brother Lin, doing this will offend them to death. Lin Moyu said, I've already offended them anyway. Better to strike first. Is Senior willing? The king of the Boundary Sea laughed lightly. What's there to be willing or unwilling about? It's not a big deal. Lin Moyu nodded, and 1,000 legion commanders flew out, bursting out of the origin continent into the void. The king of the Boundary Sea summoned a great Dao giant whale. The whale suddenly grew larger, allowing the legion commanders to stand on its back, then flew towards the depths of the void. 1,000 legion commanders meant a full 10 billion dragon cavalry legions, enough to give the Yellow Springs Dao sect a hard time. If they died in battle, they would revive in the Technique Star. At the same time, Lin Moyu could also see if he could still control the legion commanders across such a vast distance. If not, they would have to return halfway. At least he would know, and there wouldn't be any losses. The king of the Boundary Sea said softly, "Dao friend Lin, when do you plan to enter the outer sky Great Dao?" Lin Moyu shook his head. "The mandate of heaven isn't complete yet, so not for now." The king of the Boundary Sea said, "Call me anytime if you need anything. With this king around, no one can touch you. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3615, 3615. Chapter 3615, 10 years. News of Lin Moyu using a great Dao divine ability spread quickly. Those who entered the central continent rapidly reported this back to their sects and factions. The appearance of a great Dao divine ability meant Lin Moyu had a very high possibility of becoming a Dao Lord in the future. There was a saying in the outer sky Great Dao that once one mastered a great Dao divine ability, they were not far from becoming a Dao Lord. How much truth this saying held, only the Dao Lords themselves knew clearly. The powerful experts in the outer sky Great Dao all changed their gaze when looking at Lin Moyu. They no longer viewed Lin Moyu as an ordinary cultivator, and realized he wasn't simply lucky to be chosen by the mandate of heaven and Great Dao. Countless experts began to take Lin Moyu's existence seriously, even viewing him as a future Dao Lord. For such a person, one either had to directly eliminate him, beating him until his soul scattered with no chance of recovery, or avoid provoking him. Compared to others, the king of the Boundary Sea wasn't surprised at all, as if no matter what happened with Lin Moyu, he wouldn't be shocked. He knew very clearly that the one truly standing behind Lin Moyu wasn't these few Dao Lords, but the terrifying existence whose name they didn't dare mention. That existence, because of Lin Moyu, had always been paying attention to this world. Besides Lin Moyu's great Dao divine ability, another event shook the outer sky Great Dao in recent days. The Great Dao Formation sect was destroyed, and the Dao Lord of the Formation Great Dao emerged out of nowhere. Only after the news fully spread did people learn that the formation genius who was born with a heavenly formation had lived a second life as the world-sealing Dao Lord. Then he lived a third life to right wrongs. Waterstop had hidden for countless years, finally destroying the Great Dao Formation sect and taking its place, becoming the Dao Lord of the Formation Great Dao. From now on, the Formation Great Dao had a master. The Great Dao Formation sect didn't have a good reputation in the outer sky Great Dao. Many people disliked the Great Dao Formation sect, so when it was destroyed, many cheered. After the Great Dao Formation sect was destroyed, another event occurred. The Yellow Springs Dao sect was suddenly attacked by countless Great Dao realm puppets. These puppets had the combat power of 7th grade innate souls. While not top tier, they weren't too weak either. The key was their vast numbers, reaching as high as 10 billion. According to eyewitnesses, 10 billion skeletons surrounded the Yellow Springs Dao sect, launching a frenzied bombardment attack. Although the Yellow Springs Dao sect relied on their sect-protecting formation to block most of the attacks, they still suffered losses. Especially disciples with not-so-high cultivation levels, many died or were injured. Later, it was the Yellow Springs Dao sect's ancestor who took action. With the might of a Dao Lord, he destroyed these 10 billion puppets in a short time, preventing further losses for the Yellow Springs Dao sect. Strangely, after these puppets were destroyed, not even a trace remained. They disappeared without a trace. The whole process was like a vivid dream, too fantastical. In the outer sky Great Dao, the strongest in puppet techniques was the Dao puppet sect, but they declared they had nothing to do with this matter. Only a few people knew the inside story of this incident, but those who knew wouldn't speak of it. The Great Dao realm experts in the central continent could only speculate. Perhaps this matter was related to Lin Moyu. After all, Lin Moyu had used a skeleton puppet to kill Huang Kun before. Although the puppets attacking the Yellow Springs Dao sect looked somewhat different, there seemed to be some commonalities. But they had no evidence, so they wouldn't speak carelessly, to avoid offending Lin Moyu. If it was really Lin Moyu's doing, it seemed quite terrifying to them. 10 billion puppets, most sects and factions simply couldn't withstand such numbers. The Yellow Springs Dao sect made no statement about this, but everyone knew this matter certainly wasn't over. The Yellow Springs Dao sect wouldn't let it go easily. Whether or not Lin Moyu was behind this incident, the Yellow Springs Dao sect would definitely pin it all on Lin Moyu. In the Outer Sky Great Dao, this experience of the Yellow Springs Dao sect was attributed to a natural disaster. In the blink of an eye, 10 years passed. The central continent had already. Various tall buildings had risen on the central continent, with numerous structures standing. A new sect was forming. More people entered the origin continent later, including great Dao realm experts and Dao venerables. After various sects and factions determined their footholds, disciples came to expand their scale. The Third Ancestor's forces naturally didn't stay idle. The influence of the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce had blown into the central continent. They established strongholds in the central continent, built cities, and began doing business. Moreover, the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce would always casually reveal that they had an origin great Dao Lord standing behind them, so their business went very smoothly. There used to be many chambers of commerce on the origin continent, at least 100 large and small ones. Until the great changes in heaven and earth began, it was discovered that all chambers of commerce were actually controlled by the Third Ancestor. In other words, all transactions on the origin continent were controlled by the Third Ancestor. For heaven and earth, the Third Ancestor could occupy more fortune and gain greater benefits. Now, the Third Ancestor had consolidated all chambers of commerce, merging them into the Lufeng Chamber of Commerce, managed by Lufeng Yao, while he himself remained behind the scenes. Lufeng Yao came to the central continent and visited Lin Moyu for tea and conversation. In control of the entire Chamber of Commerce, Lufeng Yao's demeanor had gained several degrees of nobility and grace. However, she still called Lin Moyu, little brother, with ease. Lin Moyu sensed that within Lufeng Yao, a special bloodline seemed to be awakening. This bloodline came from the Third Ancestor, which was why the Third Ancestor had designated Lufeng Yao as his successor. Over the 10 years, many people came to visit Lin Moyu. Ji Yu Hanjing came, the fairy Examoon from the ancient Lotus Holy Land also came, as well as Dongfang Wooding and others. They came to see Lin Moyu and also to see the central continent. Fairy Examoon originally wanted to build another ancient Lotus Holy Land in the central continent, but was later dissuaded by Lin Moyu and finally gave up. During the great changes, everyone gained benefits. Ji Yu Hanjing's cultivation soared during the changes, directly entering the 9th level of Dao Venerable Realm, only one step away from the Great Dao Realm. The 4 girls, Little Mist, Little Yu, Little Wu, and Little Mei, also had their cultivation increase dramatically. Little Mist, having the closest relationship with Lin Moyu, gained the most benefits. Her cultivation rose sharply, reaching the 7th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Although her progress slowed somewhat afterwards, she was still improving quickly. It was estimated that in another 100 years, she could reach the 9th level of Dao Venerable Realm. Little Wu had the highest cultivation among them, breaking through to the 8th level of Dao Venerable Realm this time. Little Yu started later, but with her innate jade soul, she had no bottlenecks in cultivation. Taking advantage of the great changes, she directly reached Dao Venerable Realm and was now at the 2nd level. Little Mei also had an innate Dao soul and experiences from her previous life. After repeated suppression and outbursts, she finally stepped into the Dao Venerable Realm. Additionally, several more Dao Venerables appeared in Yu Dao City. Wu Dao Venerable and others advanced their cultivation further. The entire Yu Dao City was flourishing. Conflicts finally erupted on the central continent. But as long as the conflicts weren't too intense and didn't cause damage to the origin continent, Lin Moyu couldn't be bothered to intervene. If things went too far, Lin Moyu would ask them to leave the origin continent and resolve their issues in the Outer Sky Great Dao. Faced with Lin Moyu's dominance, everyone had no choice but to obey. For 10 years, Lin Moyu sat motionless in the same spot. Like a stabilizing pillar, he steadied the situation in the central continent. As long as he was there, no one dared to act recklessly. Beside Lin Moyu, an invisible great formation was operating. Lin Moyu's eyes were lowered, having entered the soul void. Asterisk 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 asterisk. This is not the only novel I translate, so sometimes the translation of this novel is affected by changes I make in other novels. For example, the Chinese character a micro can mean both array and formation, which may cause inconsistencies. If you'd like specific terms or names to remain consistent in future translations, please let me know. Some people asked for some changes to certain words. Heavenly formation Dao Lord a unknown currency copyright a micro AA. Formation a micro from array. World ceiling Da alert a degree CA from Fengji Daozen. Dao a central continent AA squared a section a degree from Zhongzhou. Asterisk 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 asterisk. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3616, 3616. Chapter 3616, Entering the Soul Void. The situation in the central continent gradually stabilized. Before the next round of changes, there would be no major conflicts in the central continent. Lin Moyu had completed part of the mandate of heaven he received, so he could focus on his own affairs. Over the 10 years, Lin Moyu continuously comprehended the Tao, and the several worlds he cultivated also evolved and grew. Lin Moyu felt he hadn't taken the wrong path. He abandoned becoming an ordinary projected Tao Lord, and didn't need to compete for the great Tao. He wanted to create his own Tao and become the Tao Lord of his own Tao. He was constantly exploring, gaining new insights every day. At the same time, he knew that to walk this path, strength was most important. Without strength, this path would only be a dead end. So he entered the Soul Void, a place all great Tao realm beings would go. It was the best place to enhance one's soul, but also extremely dangerous. In the Soul Void were not only powerful beings from the origin continent, but also strong ones from various worlds, as well as native powerful beings of the Soul Void. Countless powerful experts had perished in the Soul Void, including no small number of Tao Lords. For Tao Lords wanting to compete for the Great Tao, the Soul Void was one of their choices. For any Tao Lord, unless the Great Tao they mastered had entered the origin land, their Great Tao would lose effect or be greatly weakened in many places in the Soul Void. Once they left their own world too far, their Great Tao power would weaken, affecting their strength. They needed to find another projected Great Tao's illumination area of the same type in the Soul Void, then lock onto the specific location of that area to compete for the Great Tao. Lin Moyu didn't quite understand before, but now he finally did. Once he understood, the process wasn't actually complicated. For example, if the Fierce Wind Great Tao Lord from the origin continent wanted to compete for the Great Tao, he first needed to find the Fierce Wind Great Tao Lord of another world. There were two ways to search. One was through the world mist, the other was the Soul Void. Once he left the origin continent too far and lost the illumination of the Fierce Wind Great Tao, his strength would be greatly weakened. He needed to follow his sense of the Great Tao to find another world with the Fierce Wind Great Tao. As long as he was within the range where the Fierce Wind Great Tao could illuminate, he could exert his full strength, then attack the Fierce Wind Great Tao Lord of the other world to occupy that Great Tao. If lucky, the Fierce Wind Great Tao of the other world had no Tao Lord, so he could directly occupy the Great Tao. If unlucky, the Fierce Wind Great Tao Lord of the other world was stronger than him, so he might perish, soul and Tao dissipating. This was the Great Tao competition in the Soul Void. The competition in the real world was even more intense. Two worlds would collide, and the Tao Lords in the worlds would act together, directly invading the other's world to occupy the Great Tao. Both methods worked, the difference was whether it was one-on-one combat or all-out war. As for Lin Moyu, the Immortality Great Tao, Time Great Tao, and Power Great Tao he mastered had already entered the origin land. They could illuminate the entire Soul Void, so he could exert the full power of these three Great Taos in any corner of the Soul Void. Adding the world-burning fire, Lin Moyu had an absolute advantage in the Soul Void. After becoming a great Dao realm expert, entering the soul void again, Lin Moyu sensed the difference and understood why one could only truly venture into the soul void after reaching the great Dao realm. Before the great Dao realm, after entering the soul void, once one left their soul world too far, they would get lost in it. Eventually, their spiritual intelligence would be extinguished, becoming a soul body with only instincts, wandering around like a lonely ghost. Once this happened, they were essentially dead. This situation improved a lot after the Dao Venerable realm. Even if Dao Venerables lost connection with their soul world, they could maintain their spiritual intelligence for a long time. With luck, they might even find their way back. However, the soul void was vast and boundless, with no sense of direction. Finding one's way back was as difficult as ascending to heaven. Only great Dao realm experts could always maintain a weak connection with their soul world. The farther the distance, the weaker the connection, and the more difficult it would be to return. This connection, barring special circumstances, generally wouldn't be completely severed. There was always a chance to find one's way back. However, in the soul void, accidents were everywhere. Fairy Examoon of the ancient Lotus Holy Land was in such a situation, unable to return for a long time. Lin Moyu stood outside his soul world, quietly sensing the soul void. His gaze looked into the distance, where mist swirled, obscuring even his vision. Holding the disaster scepter in his hand, Legion commanders appeared one by one. 10,000 Legion commanders summoned 100 billion dragon cavalry, surrounding the soul world so tightly that not even water could seep through. Death force enveloped the dragon cavalry, obscuring all light from the soul world, hiding it. When one's soul body was not present, finding ways to hide one's soul world well was a basic skill for every great Dao realm expert. When Lin Moyu was away, the Legion commanders could command the dragon cavalry legions. With the assistance of the world tree, ordinary great Dao realm experts couldn't break in. The soul world was basically very safe. Moreover, he was in the origin continent. The soul void mirrored reality, so there wouldn't be too powerful enemies nearby. When the soul body wasn't too far from the soul world, the undead army could be used. Lin Moyu had verified this long ago. As long as the distance was right, the undead army could be used. But if the distance was too far, it would be difficult to summon. So Lin Moyu thought of a method: carry the undead army with him, placing it in his personal storage space. His storage space could also be used in the soul void. In the soul void, most storage treasures couldn't be used. Only some storage treasures made of special materials could be used, but his storage space was unaffected. He couldn't help but marvel at how amazing his storage space was. It seemed there was nothing it couldn't hold. He even had the illusion that it could hold an entire world. After packing the remaining skeleton god generals, legion commanders, and skeleton kings into the storage space, which still wasn't full, Lin Moyu took a deep breath and flew towards the depths of the void. His soul plunged into the mist, his vision becoming increasingly limited, making it difficult to see the way ahead. The undead eye opened, but no soul bodies were seen nearby. After advancing to the great Dao realm, as the undead army's combat power increased, the undead eye also became stronger, able to see farther. Even in the soul void, the undead eye could see quite far. Lin Moyu moved forward in the soul void. Gradually, he felt farther and farther from his soul world, the connection becoming weaker and weaker. Until it reached a certain degree, the connection between them no longer changed. Though it became extremely weak, it never broke. If he calmed his heart, he could still find the way back. It was because of this that great Dao realm experts could venture into the soul void. He continued forward, stopping after flying a certain distance to sense his soul world. After confirming there was no problem, he would continue advancing. In the central continent, Lin Moyu protected himself with the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation. With the strength of the heaven-sealing Dao-severing formation, ordinary great Dao realm experts couldn't break through. In the current origin continent, safety wasn't an issue. 10,000 meters above him, space slightly distorted, and Lin Mohan's illusory figure appeared. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3617, 3617. Chapter 3617, the first test subject. No one noticed Lin Mohan. She seemed to not exist in this space-time, only causing slight changes in space under the illumination of the Tai Yang and Tai Yin origins. Lin Mohan sat cross-legged in the void, a long sword lying across her legs. She was protecting Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu had entered the soul void, and she was not at ease, so she came to guard Lin Moyu's physical body. In the soul void, Lin Moyu didn't know how long he had flown or how far he had gone. The power of the thousand-star Great Tao, Space Great Tao, and Fortune Great Tao was gradually weakening. He knew he was moving farther away from the origin continent. The range of Great Tao illumination was limited. The farther the distance, the weaker the heavenly Tao power became. Along the way, he saw several soul flames. These soul flames were hidden in the mist, flickering slowly. He saw 7 in total, one of which was a Tao Venerable, while the other 6 were below Tao Venerable realm. Each soul flame represented a living being, possibly from the real world or native to the soul void. Lin Moyu carefully went over to take a look, confirming that the ones he saw were all beings from the origin continent. This also verified his guess that the undead eye could penetrate the mist to a certain extent, seeing beings hidden within. This greatly improved his safety. One of the major dangers in the soul void was its native beings. Native beings would hide in the mist, almost impossible to detect before they launched an attack. When someone passed by them, they would suddenly attack from the mist, catching people off guard. Many people were injured or even died in such situations. But in the undead eye, their hiding became meaningless. Lin Moyu could discover them early and counterattack. Lin Moyu divided the souls in the soul void into 2 main categories. One type was cultivators in their own soul worlds, with their soul worlds creating a small area surrounded by mist. The other type could be cultivators or native beings. Regardless of which, they had no soul world, so they were enemies. Those who ambushed passers-by in the mist weren't necessarily native beings, they could also be other cultivators. This was a dangerous world, even more dangerous and cruel than the real world. Finally, Lin Moyu discovered another soul flame. This was a Tao Venerable realm soul flame. He slowly approached and saw the other's identity clearly through the mist. A being shaped like a wild boar, the aura it emitted was not from the origin continent. It was either a native being of the soul void or a great Tao realm being from another world. This was a dark world where everyone tried their best to hide themselves while seeking prey. Once someone discovered another, they would launch an attack. Just as Lin Moyu was observing it, the boar-like being slowly turned its head and looked in Lin Moyu's direction. Lin Moyu was startled. It shouldn't be able to see me. Is it my gaze that caught its attention? Beings in the soul void had very keen senses. Although it couldn't see him, it could sense his gaze. With a thought, Lin Moyu struck first. A ball of world-burning fire flew out, penetrating the mist and landing on the other party. The world-burning fire exploded, turning into a sea of fire, creating a clean void in the misty world. After Lin Moyu entered the Great Tao realm, the world-burning fire had strengthened again, burning Great Tao realm beings even more quickly. The boar-like being screamed incessantly in the sea of fire, rolling around frantically. As it rolled, dense white vapors emanated from its body. The white vapors were extremely cold, attempting to extinguish the sea of fire. Unfortunately, the world-burning fire wasn't real fire, and it couldn't be extinguished by the vapors. The world-burning fire not only burned souls but could also burn the great Tao power it released. Lin Moyu coldly observed from the void, this boar-like being's soul should be 8th grade. It will take about half an hour for the world-burning fire to burn it to death. Half an hour is a bit long. It seems the world-burning fire is still not strong enough and needs further strengthening. To enhance the world-burning fire, besides realm advancement, it needed to be fed. The feeding method was simple, continuously let it burn souls and refine worlds. But now, half an hour of burning time wasn't efficient enough, and the light from the world-burning fire would spread out, penetrating the mist. Its power fluctuations might attract other beings. With a thought, Lin Moyu sent down Death Force. Stimulated by the Death Force, the boar-like being screamed even more terribly. The immortality Great Tao was unaffected in the soul void. With Lin Moyu's current realm, the effect of Death Force was extremely strong. The boar-like being's soul was visibly corroded. Combined with the world-burning fire, the efficiency greatly increased. It would take less than 10 minutes to burn it to death. Lin Moyu used the boar-like being as a test subject to measure his combat power in the soul void. Amidst its screams, the boar-like being suddenly surged with boundless icy water. Though the icy water couldn't extinguish the world-burning fire, it gradually stabilized in the water. It stopped screaming, red light shining through its eyes, suddenly locking onto Lin Moyu. The red light from its eyes shot out like arrows, crashing into Lin Moyu's soul with a boom. The intense soul impact shook Lin Moyu, forcing him to retreat continuously. Then, it screamed and charged over. The icy water turned into sharp arrows, coming like raindrops, forcibly creating a path through the sea of fire. Lin Moyu didn't want to collide with it. The Time Great Tao enveloped his body, and he disappeared as if teleporting. The Time Great Tao disrupted space-time, slowing down his own time flow, making 1 second into 5 seconds. 5 seconds was enough for Lin Moyu to fly very far away. The soul void was disturbed by the Time Great Tao, rippling with circles. The boar-like being pounced on empty air. The world-burning fire surrounded it again, and death force continued to pour down. The intense pain was hard to bear. It looked around and found that Lin Moyu had somehow already hidden on the other side of the sea of fire. It howled and charged towards Lin Moyu again, completely disregarding the sea of fire. It knew very well that if it couldn't kill Lin Moyu in the shortest time, it would surely die. Lin Moyu felt the Time Great Tao. 1 second can be used as 3 seconds. The effect of the Time Great Tao is indeed good. It seems I can also affect its time. Watching the boar charging again, Lin Moyu willed the Time Great Tao to fall on the boar. The Time Great Tao was beneficial for Lin Moyu, but completely the opposite for the boar. The boar's movements immediately slowed down. What originally would have taken only a second to break through the sea of fire now took several seconds. Satisfied with the effect of the Time Great Tao, Lin Moyu muttered to himself, "Let's try the Power Great Tao next." The Power Great Tao had been used on the physical body many times, but never directly on the soul. The Power Great Tao appeared, and Lin Moyu felt his soul power boiling, rapidly increasing and converging to a point. At the same time, his soul felt like it had put on a heavy armor, transforming into a war god. Lin Moyu had an irresistible feeling, almost instinctively throwing a punch at the boar. A giant fist appeared in the soul void, scattering the mist and heavily striking the boar. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3618, 3618. Chapter 3618, Outside the World, Chaotic Great Taos. The giant fist swept across, scattering a large area of mist, flying forward until it disappeared from view. The boar-like being was no more. With one punch, its soul had scattered, leaving nothing behind. Lin Moyu was torn between laughter and tears. I used too much force. This punch was too powerful, directly causing the boar-like being's soul to scatter. The world-burning fire had burned for nothing earlier, not even leaving a trace behind. However, Lin Moyu also felt the power of the Power Great Tao, which was even more domineering than in the Origin Continent. In the Origin Continent, the Power Great Tao's function was to mobilize and gather all the body's strength, while providing powerful immunity and enhancing physical strength. But in the Soul Void, the Power Great Tao had clearly changed. Besides providing strong defense for the soul, it could also amplify attacking power. The destructive power of that punch was so strong that not only could an 8th grade soul boar not withstand it, even a 7th grade soul being couldn't resist it. It's possible that even 6th grade soul beings would suffer. It seems this Power Great Tao can't be used recklessly, Lin Moyu thought to himself. He put away the world-burning fire, and the mist gathered back. Soon, this place returned to normal. It was unknown where this mist came from, making the entire soul void extremely mysterious. Lin Moyu continued flying forward, and soon encountered another native being. This time it was only a 9th grade soul being. Lin Moyu didn't experiment on it. He just exploded a bit of world-burning fire and left far away, letting the world-burning fire burn on its own. After about 10 minutes, it was burned to death by the world-burning fire, leaving only a soul crystal. The world-burning fire also grew slightly stronger. Lin Moyu picked up the soul crystal and continued forward. Gradually, the sense of the 1000-star, space, fortune and other great Taos became weaker and weaker. Lin Moyu knew he was about to completely leave the illumination range of the Origin Continent. Once outside the Origin Continent's illumination range, the danger would increase significantly. The Origin Continent was a world, and the power of the world's great Tao formed a kind of protection. Some native beings from the Soul Void were unwilling to enter. After all, under the cover of the Origin Continent, there were many great Tao realm experts and Tao lords, which was not safe for native beings. But once outside, it became the domain of native beings. However, this was exactly what Lin Moyu wanted. Soon, Lin Moyu felt as if he had passed through a thin barrier. After passing through, he completely lost his sense of several great Taos. I've left the origin continent. Lin Moyu's heart stirred as he stood at the edge of the world barrier, motionless. He was sensing the true soul void. Without the influence of the world's great Tao power, the soul void became different. Before, it always felt like there was a layer of separation. Now that separation was finally gone, the soul void exuded a primordial, vast aura that instilled fear in people. If those below the great Tao realm sensed this aura, they would probably be scared into retreating immediately. Here, great Taos intertwined. Countless great Tao powers tangled chaotically together, like layers upon layers of dense nets interweaving, completely disordered. He couldn't sense what these great Taos were, nor where they came from. It was too chaotic, no longer just a tangled mess, but countless tangled messes intertwining with each other, truly chaos upon chaos. Here, though great Tao power existed, not a bit could be used. Great Taos like the Thousand Star couldn't be used at all. Among the chaotic myriad great Tao powers, only a few great Taos remained relatively clear. He sensed for a moment and found the time great Tao and power great Tao. These two great Taos seemed relatively independent, not mixed with other great Taos. Moreover, he could easily mobilize the power of these two great Taos. Strange, why isn't there an immortality great Tao? Lin Moyu couldn't sense the existence of the immortality great Tao, but he could use its power without any problem. This was very strange and puzzling. He pondered for a moment and finally understood how Tao Lords competed for great Taos. Leaving one's own world to accurately find another identical great Tao, the reason lay here. Tao Lords had to find their own great Tao among these chaotic great Tao powers, then follow that great Tao to its source. Tao Lords wouldn't know what kind of world awaited at the end of the great Tao they found. Just finding it was already very difficult. Then they had to follow the great Tao power across, crossing vast void, experiencing numerous dangers to reach that world. With luck, they could win the great Tao competition and return, then seek the next world. Again and again, until their power grew stronger and stronger, finally breaking free from the status of projected Tao Lord to become a true body Tao Lord. But the great Tao competition was too dangerous. Very few could truly become body Tao Lords. Let alone finding the other's world, just the dangers along the way were enough to stop most Tao Lords. So some Tao Lords didn't bother with great Tao competition at all. They just wanted to be content as projected Tao Lords. After all, with unlimited lifespan, they could completely forego ambition. Just as Lin Moyu was lost in thought, a soul flame suddenly appeared not far away. Someone, like him, had left the origin continent and come here. The origin continent was vast, but by coincidence, the other person appeared not far from him. There was no mist here. Lin Moyu saw the other person at the same time the other saw him. This was a human cultivator, with an extremely large soul flame, almost no worse than a Tao Lord's soul flame. High-level first-grade innate soul. Lin Moyu murmured in his heart, while becoming alert. In the soul void, one couldn't trust anyone. Caution was paramount in everything. He looked at Lin Moyu, clearly somewhat surprised. Lin Moyu's realm was too low, merely 7th grade innate soul, yet he dared to come here. His courage was extraordinary. He didn't come close, but transmitted sound to Lin Moyu from afar. I am Shen Chen, greetings, fellow Taoist. Lin Moyu also bowed slightly, greetings, senior. Lin Moyu didn't give his name. He knew his reputation was quite big now. If Shen Chen turned out to be an enemy rather than a friend, he would be in trouble. Shen Chen didn't dwell on Lin Moyu's name, but praised, fellow Taoist truly has good courage, coming here at such a realm. Shen admires you. Lin Moyu responded with some modesty, Junior is just wandering aimlessly. Shen Chen nodded. The road ahead is full of dangers. Fellow Taoist had better not go far. If possible, return early. Lin Moyu said, thank you for the reminder, senior. Junior will just take a look. After saying this, Shen Chen said no more. He lowered his head and looked around, seeming to search for something. Lin Moyu watched Shen Chen curiously, not knowing what he was looking for. What Shen Chen was looking for was clearly not easy to find. He searched for a long time without result. However, Shen Chen's emotions were very stable, not anxious at all. This could be seen from the flickering frequency of his soul flame. After searching for half a day, Shen Chen still found nothing. He stopped and noticed Lin Moyu was watching him. He smiled and said, "I've made fellow Taoist laugh. Shen couldn't find it." Lin Moyu asked curiously, "What is senior looking for?" Shen Chen said, "The heavy water great Tao. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up, go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol in type A. Chapter 3619, 3619. Chapter 3619, Great Tao Competition, Life or Death. Lin Moyu's most direct impression was that Shen Chen's words exuded a sense of righteousness. With his keen soul perception, he could clearly sense that Shen Chen's words matched his character. Among cultivators from the outer sky Great Tao, there were naturally all kinds of people. Over the years, he had seen quite a few in the central continent. However, regardless of the type of person, they generally had their own calculations. Someone like Shen Chen, who spoke so directly, was not very common. Lin Moyu unconsciously thought of Chu Shang from the Great World. The two seemed to have some similarities. Lin Moyu also knew how to deal with this type of person. The best way was to speak frankly, "Senior, why are you looking for the heavy water Great Tao?" Shen Chen didn't conceal anything either. Naturally, it's to achieve the Tao in full. Hearing this answer, Lin Moyu was even more puzzled. Senior is already a first-grade innate soul, only one step away from becoming a Tao Lord. If Senior wants to become a Tao Lord, shouldn't you be communicating with the Great Tao within the world? Shen Chen gave a bitter laugh. Which of us cultivators doesn't want to become a Tao Lord? But there can only be one Tao Lord, and the heavy water Great Tao already has a Tao Lord. With the heavy water Great Tao already having a Tao Lord, it was impossible for a new Tao Lord to appear before the current one perished. So Shen Chen came here. Lin Moyu immediately understood why Shen Chen had come. He wanted to find the heavy water Great Tao, then follow the Great Tao's trajectory to another world that possessed the heavy water Great Tao. If that world didn't have a Tao Lord, then he would have a chance. If that world's heavy water Great Tao already had a Tao Lord, Shen Chen would either have to find another place or perish, slain by that Tao Lord. For Shen Chen, this was his only chance, and also a necessary course of action. Lin Moyu asked, "Actually, couldn't Senior wait? Tao Lords always engage in Great Tao competition. What if the Tao Lord perishes? Wouldn't Senior then have a chance?" Shen Chen shook his head. He's overly cautious. After becoming a Tao Lord, he shut himself away and doesn't participate in Great Tao competition. There's no point in waiting. I can only seek another path. This type of Tao Lord was not uncommon. Content to be wealthy, not fighting for power, they could live for billions of years without issue if nothing unexpected happened. This approach was purely a personal choice, and others couldn't say much about it. So Shen Chen could either be content as a top Great Tao realm expert at the peak of first-grade innate soul, or leave the world to seek another path. Obviously, Shen Chen had ambitions, so he came here. For someone like him, once he made a decision, his Tao heart became extremely firm, almost impossible to change. Lin Moyu understood Shen Chen's thoughts. Junior will help look together. Shen Chen didn't stand on ceremony. Thank you. In the void, the Great Taos were extremely chaotic, all intertwined, forming a pattern where each contained the other, extremely difficult to distinguish. The heavy water Great Tao was a branch of the water Great Tao. The water Great Tao had many branches, and their auras were very similar. Trying to find the heavy water Great Tao among them was indeed not easy. Lin Moyu relied on his keen soul to sense bit by bit, entangling the chaotic mess of Great Taos thread by thread, searching for the heavy water Great Tao little by little. Shen Chen was also searching. Both lowered their heads and eyes, looking extremely serious. After searching for a long time, Shen Chen still hadn't found it and couldn't help but sigh. "Friend, if we really can't find it, let's forget it." Lin Moyu said, "I feel like we're close to finding it." Shen Chen thought Lin Moyu was just comforting him. He didn't mind and continued, "This is Shen's own affair. Friend doesn't need to trouble himself so much." Lin Moyu ignored him and continued searching. The process of searching for the Great Tao was actually a small training for the soul. In this process, his control over his soul power became more meticulous, and the keenness of his soul also improved. Great Taos with similar attributes but completely different were found, discovered, and distinguished. Lin Moyu was no longer just looking for the heavy water Great Tao, he was cultivating his soul. During the search process, the soul was both training and consuming energy. Shen Chen had to stop after searching for a while to let his soul recover. But Lin Moyu didn't stop for a moment. It seemed as if his soul power wouldn't be consumed. Shen Chen was somewhat amazed. He, a peak first-grade soul Great Dao realm expert, was actually inferior in this aspect to a little 7th-grade soul fellow. But Lin Moyu proved it to him with facts. Shen Chen watched for a while and roughly figured out the reason. Lin Moyu's soul power spread outward, indicating continuous consumption, but the soul power didn't decrease at all, indicating that his soul power was constantly recovering. The rate of consumption was almost equal to the rate of recovery, so the soul power always remained at its peak, not needing to rest for a moment. Shen Chen looked at this recovery ability with some envy. In the midst of his envy, Lin Moyu suddenly called out, "Found it!" Shen Chen's eyes lit up. Really found it? Lin Moyu's soul power transformed into a large hand. 2 fingers on the large hand pinched a thread of Great Dao power, slowly flying towards Shen Chen. The Great Dao was formless, and soul power was also formless. When these 2 formless things met, they became visible and tangible. This thread of Great Dao power was thinner than a hair, but it was extremely tough, not at all afraid of breaking. The other end of the Great Dao power extended into the depths of the void. Along the way, it was still a chaotic tangle of Great Daos. Now they had only found one end, and Shen Chen still needed to follow this thread of Great Dao power all the way. Shen Chen sensed the aura of the heavy water Great Dao. His soul aura surged with excitement, showing obvious joy. He also transformed his soul into a hand, reaching for the Great Dao power. His tone slightly excited. "Thank you, friend. If Shen can become a Dao Lord, I will certainly return to thank you properly." Lin Moyu smiled slightly. "Senior needn't be so formal. Junior only helped a little. I wish Senior success in his Dao and becoming a Dao Lord." Shen Chen said. "Shen's journey is uncertain. Some words are better left unsaid. If I can return alive, we'll talk again. May I ask how to address you?" This time, Lin Moyu didn't conceal it. "Junior is Lin Moyu." Shen Chen said. "Shen has noted it. Friend Lin, we'll meet again if fate allows." He didn't seem surprised by Lin Moyu's name, which was normal. Perhaps he had been in the soul void for years and didn't know what had happened outside. Or maybe he had been in seclusion, unaware of outside affairs. Lin Moyu secretly laughed, thinking his earlier concerns were somewhat unnecessary. Shen Chen followed the Great Dao power in his hand, continuously picking out the Great Dao power from the tangled mess, gradually moving forward, disappearing into the void's mist. Lin Moyu knew that Shen Chen's journey was indeed uncertain. If he was lucky and became a Dao Lord, he would return to engage in Great Dao competition with the heavy water Dao Lord of the origin continent. Only one of them could live unless one was willing to give up the position of Dao Lord. Great Dao competition was so cruel, it was either life or death. If Shen Chen didn't return, either perishing halfway or if the world of the Great Dao power he chose already had a heavy water Great Dao Lord, it would be a battle with slim chances of survival. This was Shen Chen's fate, and no one knew the outcome. Shen Chen's matter was like an interlude. Lin Moyu also gained from this, with his soul's keenness improving and gaining experience with the chaotic Great Dao powers. Perhaps one day, he would need to use this. Next, it's time to do the real work. The undead eye swept across, and Lin Moyu chose a direction, soaring away. Asterisk 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 asterisk. I've edited chapters 3601 to 3615a. Please check them out. They now have more details and flow better. One of the reasons I avoided translating during my vacation was due to inconsistencies and lack of focus, which would have impacted the translation quality. For a better reading experience, I recommend rereading from chapter 3601. Asterisk 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 asterisk. ko-fi.com/translate-toki. Only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a. Chapter 3620, 3620. Chapter 3620, Finally Found You. The great Tao powers were layered and chaotically intertwined. Except for a few great Taos that had projections in the origin land, the rest of the great Tao powers could not be utilized at all. Each world was like a giant filter. The chaotic great Tao powers fell onto the worlds and were filtered, with only some needed ones entering the worlds while the rest were discarded. At the same time, each world was releasing great Tao powers outwards, making the great Tao powers lose their source and destination, becoming even more chaotic. In these days of helping Shen Chen search for the heavy water great Tao power, Lin Moyu's soul insights grew deeper and deeper. He gradually began to understand the appearance of the soul void. A familiar feeling surged in his heart. Lin Moyu realized that the existence mode of various worlds in the soul void was very similar to the world competition in the Boundary Sea. The world competition in the Boundary Sea could be seen as a simplified version of the soul void. Each independent giant world was like a Boundary Sea world. Each native being was like a creature in the Boundary Sea. However, in the Boundary Sea worlds, it was not easy for Boundary Sea creatures to enter, while here, native beings had a high probability of entering one world after another, causing harm to the cultivators inside. Compared to the Boundary Sea worlds, the soul void was naturally more dangerous. But this wasn't the key point. The real key point was, why did the Boundary Sea worlds become a replica of the soul void? Is it the doing of the person behind again? From the small world, to the big world, then to the origin continent, are you letting me experience these in advance? By doing this, do you want me to accumulate experience and know how to deal with it? The image of the green-robed old man appeared in Lin Moyu's mind. Besides him, it seemed no one else would do this, and had the ability to do so. His soul roamed in the vast void, getting farther and farther away from the origin continent. The thoughts in his soul became clearer and clearer. The green-robed old man said he wasn't a chess piece, so what was he? Sooner or later, he had to break this cage and see what the green-robed old man was really trying to do. In his vision, soul flames appeared one after another. They wandered in the void like lonely ghosts. These soul flames varied in strength. The stronger ones were only at the Tao Venerable realm, while the weaker ones weren't even heavenly venerables. As native beings, they were pitifully weak. Just as Lin Moyu was about to approach, suddenly a soul flame appeared abruptly. Then he saw a giant python fly by. The python opened its mouth, and those weak soul bodies were instantly devoured, leaving not even a trace. The giant python circled in the void, its huge head directly aimed at Lin Moyu. A pair of eyes emitting red light stared fixedly at Lin Moyu. Lin Moyu felt he was locked on, giving him a chilling sensation. The giant python's strength was not weak, reaching the 6th grade innate soul, even a bit stronger than himself. A 7th grade soul fellow, daring to leave your own world. The giant python suddenly let out a hiss, which turned into a soul sword, resonating in the void. Lin Moyu chuckled. Is there a problem? In the soul void, many native beings possessed intelligence, just like the shark he had encountered before, and the even more terrifying big face. The giant python laughed. Of course there's no problem. But since you've come, don't think about leaving. Be a good boy and become this lord's food. But considering your hard-earned cultivation, this lord will give you a chance. If you have any last words, you can say 3. Lin Moyu was very surprised. You're actually letting me say last words. Could it be that you can help me fulfill them? The giant python laughed wildly. Of course not, it's just letting you say them. Lin Moyu sighed helplessly. I haven't thought of any last words yet, so I won't say anything. The giant python suddenly stopped laughing. Its soul body fluctuated violently, condensing intense killing intent, then just died. It transformed into a fierce wind and pounced over. A tens of thousands of meters long giant python appeared in the void, spewing foul wind, sweeping everything in its path. A large area of the soul void shook and rumbled. The entire space turned into a swamp, difficult to move in. The great Tao powers, tangled like a mess, became even more chaotic. Most of the native beings in the soul void cultivated the soul great Tao. This was their instinct. Some of them would cultivate other great Taos, all of which were projected into the origin land. Because of this, the native beings in the soul void could exert powerful combat strength. Unlike Shen Chen, who would greatly weaken in combat power once leaving his own world. Lin Moyu waved his hand, and a ball of world-burning fire flew out. At the same time, the power great Tao enveloped his entire body, concentrating all power into a punch. The shadow of a giant fist shattered the giant python. The giant python let out a miserable cry and was blown away, returning to its original form. The world-burning fire followed closely, exploding on its body, turning into flames that enveloped its entire body. Ah! A scream rose. It shouted loudly, "Great Tao Essence Fire, how do you have Great Tao Essence Fire?" Lin Moyu didn't answer. It was rare to encounter a 6th grade innate soul fellow, allowing him to practice well. The time Great Tao appeared, turning 1 second into 3. Lin Moyu instantly disappeared, appearing in front of the giant python as if teleporting, throwing punch after punch. At this moment, Lin Moyu transformed into a berserk warrior, every punch hitting flesh, throwing hundreds of punches in the blink of an eye. The giant python screamed incessantly. Its scales shattered under Lin Moyu's giant fists, its soul power scattering, that was its blood. Enduring the pain, its tail swept over. Lin Moyu countered with his fists. Boom! The soul void shook violently. Lin Moyu was blown away, while large cracks appeared on the python's tail. The giant python's entire body was enveloped by the world-burning fire, in unspeakable pain. It frantically charged towards Lin Moyu. 2 tentacles grew on its head, lashing out at Lin Moyu like whips. The world-burning fire wasn't strong enough yet. Although it could burn it to death, it would take a long time. It endured the pain, determined to kill Lin Moyu. "Kill you, kill you!" The giant python screamed incessantly. Arrow-like attacks spewed from its mouth, coordinating with the tentacles on its head and its huge tail in frenzied attacks. Lin Moyu kept retreating. With the time Great Tao on him, it couldn't attack him at all. Now Lin Moyu was just dragging it out. The longer he dragged, the more advantageous it was for him. As he retreated, death force scattered around, turning into an ocean. The sea of fire also spread everywhere with the giant python, burning fiercely in the soul void. If this battle continued, the giant python would surely die. Suddenly, an angry roar sounded from afar. "Finally found you." Amidst the roar, a shark rushed over. An old acquaintance. Lin Moyu was surprised. It was the shark he had encountered when he was entrusted by the ancient Lotus Holy Land to find Examoon. At that time, it was inside the origin continent world. How did it come outside the world now? From its appearance, it seemed to have been looking for him all along, but it shouldn't have come looking outside the world. The shark's strength was far inferior to the giant python's. Lin Moyu didn't take it seriously at all, just casually slapping it. Boom! The shark cried miserably as it flew back. Being only at the Great Tao realm, its soul body was almost shattered, lying there barely alive. Lin Moyu didn't kill it. He still had questions to ask later. 10 skeleton god generals came to the shark's side, taking it away from the battlefield to avoid accidental death. ko-fi.com/translate-toki only donate if you want to. My Patreon is now up. Go to email protected translate toki. Remove the @ symbol and type a